Hi, folks. Bob Mannery here. You're listening to A2D Radio, real sports talk radio for the fans, by the fans, no agenda. These guys are the best in the business. Hashtag it. No notes.
Live from the Real Talk Studios, Mount Heat from New Jersey, it is the Sports Hounds. I'm Rob Brinkman, Brad Breyer, to my right, Frank the Tank Vesby, producing the show, as usual. And boy, I wish I could lead the show with my usual happy Monday, but absolutely nothing is happy about this Monday across the Delaware Valley. Sunday Night Football, Doug Peterson, Carson Wentz, and the boys completely embarrassed themselves on Monday Night Football. They lose to the Dallas Cowboys 27-20, and the game wasn't even that close. It was one of the most heartless, gutless, disappointing performances I can ever remember in Philadelphia sports history.
Well, in the first half, it was the offense.
It's not hyperbole.
Second half, the defense.
It's not a hot take. I mean, I don't know what Doug did on the bye week. Maybe he went on a boat trip with Odell Beckham. I have no idea. Jim Schwartz
has to bring Odell into it.
Jim Schwartz is a complete disaster. Doug Peterson, I don't want to say he's a bad coach. I'm not there with him yet, but he coached a bad game last night. He coached a really bad game. We just mistake after mistake, horrible play calls. I don't understand how you can come out that flat in a big spot against a division rival in a game you must have. You had to have that game, Brad.
No, that was a horrible loss. I mean, now you're in a position where if you want to get back into this thing, you got to go down to New Orleans and beat the Saints.
It's not going to happen.
Good luck with that.
And now, when it rains, it pours. Ronald Darby tore his ACL last night. Now they're down yet another corner. Drew Brees, Michael Thomas, Alvin Kamara, and the boys, they're licking their chops. They can't wait for Philadelphia to come to town. I can't lay out a logical scenario where they win this game on Sunday.
No, I can't see that happening either. The way the Saints are playing, they are on such a roll right now. I mean, Cincinnati is not that bad a team, and they just
not at all.
They beat them 51-14.
And they had some injuries. A.J. Green didn't play, but
yeah, but 51.
It was a classic
51 points.
It was a classic letdown spot for the Saints. You know, you got to.
They got the Eagles coming.
You're
up.
on the road against an out-of-conference opponent in the cold.
After winning a huge
you got the
game
champs coming in.
After winning a huge game against the Rams, and they just took care of business. I mean, that team is they just everything right now. They are just.
I do want to get it back
an
to
offensive
the Eagles because everyone is to blame for last night's disaster of a game against the Dallas Cowboys. From Doug Peterson to Jim Schwartz to the assistant coaches to the quarterback Carson Wentz. Yes, Golden Boy Carson Wentz is not above criticism for that trash performance last night by that Philadelphia Eagles football team. To the defense, to the offensive line, everyone. A completely pathetic performance by the Philadelphia Eagles last night. And it brought me back to last year a little bit because last year was such a likable year. And this was about the time they were really hitting their stride, blowing everybody out, really endearing themselves to the Philadelphia fan base and the city of Philadelphia. It started against your Giants. Jake Elliott made the 63-yard field goal. Everyone fell in love with Jake Elliott. Carson Wentz established himself as a franchise quarterback and a potential league MVP. You had Nelson Aguilar just get picked up off the scrap heap from bust to boom. You know, became a very, very, very likable team. I looked around last night after the game. Who is likable on this team?
Ertz.
You mean Zach Ertz?
Yeah,
Peanut football IQ runs a 6-yard out on 4th and 7.
That was a bonehead
That's such
play.
a pet peeve of mine.
That's a bonehead play. I
Why
would
would
agree
you
with
run a 4-yard route on 4th and 5? Why would you run a 6-yard route on 4th and 7? It makes no sense to me.
No, maybe. I mean, I understand why it happens, but I just think that you can't let it happen.
You got to be cognizant of where you are on the football field.
No, they're thinking
run
if
past
they catch
the
it,
sticks
they're thinking
and get the first down.
They're thinking if they catch it 1 yard behind the line because they're not guarding them, that they can bull their way to get the first down. But it doesn't always work that way. You've got to go past the sticks.
I mean,
you have to.
I
mean,
have a plethora of. I don't even know where to start sifting through this level. This loss to the Dallas Cowboys. I don't even know where to start.
Well,
I can't even talk.
Let me
I'm
ask you a
still
question,
so
Rob,
angry.
because I pose this question to you. Do you think that they miss Reich, and do you think
it's
they
an
miss
excellent,
DiFilippo?
excellent
does
question, Brad.
Does Carson Wentz miss DiFilippo? I mean, that was his quarterback coach.
I think Carson Wentz does miss DiFilippo.
I mean, look what's going on with Andrew Luck now. Andrew Luck all of a sudden is back to being.
Andrew Luck is a stud.
But so is Carson.
I understand, but talents like Andrew Luck and Carson can really make guys like DiFilippo and Doug Peterson look smart.
Yes, they can. Yes, they can. But
I know all the numbers, and I know nobody's happy with me in the A2D family because I said Carson Wentz didn't look sharp last night, and he didn't in the first half.
He didn't, especially in the first half.
I thought he left a lot of yak out there in the first half. That's yards after catch for newcomers.
Yeah, I don't think he played well. He
seemed like he was missing low a lot, and guys Ertz and Jeffrey were catching quick slants on their knees instead of in a position to run after the catch.
He seemed like he wasn't on target yesterday in the first half. Now, he made some really nice throws in the second half. I'll tell you what.
He always does.
That one catch by Aguilar was just ridiculous.
And that brings me to coaching because this RPO stuff that they have Carson Wentz running, this is a Nick Foles gimmick. You don't need an RPO with a stud like Carson Wentz. You don't need it. You need to
first of all, he's not going to
let Carson Wentz let it rip.
You know he's not going to run the ball.
Brad, the Eagles threw the ball deep on 2 occasions last night by my count. And if I'm wrong and I missed one, I apologize. Post it in the chat and we'll address it. But one was in the second quarter. They took a shot deep with Golden Tate. I thought pass interference should have been called. The referees disagreed. So it was an incomplete pass. And then in the second half, he threw a frozen rope 51 yards to Nelson Aguilar.
And that was a great throw.
Why can't Doug and Carson and Mike Groh and whoever else puts in the game plan on offense throw the ball deep more?
That I don't understand.
You don't need to throw 40 bubble screens and 40 quick slants when Carson Wentz is your quarterback.
Well, also
that's why his completion percentage is 70%, folks.
But also,
it's not because he's a better quarterback this year than he was last year, because Carson Wentz played the quarterback position damn near perfect last year before he tore his ACL. I know his stats are the same, and in some cases his stats are better, but the optics don't match his stat line this week. There's still something a little missing. Maybe it's his knee. If you want to attribute it to that, that's fine. But either way, it's resulting to 4 and 5. Carson Wentz was not sharp last night. Is he the main reason they lost the game? No. Does Carson Wentz cost his team football games? No. But, for example, the Carolina game, if you want to be in the conversation with Rodgers and Breeze and Brady and all those all-time greats, you need to put the ball in the end zone and win that football game against the Panthers.
Oh, I agree with you.
How about the second half? The third quarter starts. Dallas deferred the kick. They got the ball first. Dak Prescott does a play-action pass on either first or second down. Michael Bennett stiffs it out perfect. Nearly just absolutely tattoos Dak Prescott. Quick 3 and out. Eagles get the ball. Carson leads them right down into the red zone.
But they don't get a touchdown.
And they get 3. Like, I need 6 there, guys.
Yeah, you got to get the touchdown.
I need 6 there, fam.
You got to get – I mean, listen.
Because if you get 6 there after that big hit and that 3 and out, then Dak Prescott and stinky Jason Garrett, who absolutely lapped Doug Peterson in every aspect of coaching last night, Then they're quaking in their boots. Then it's in the back of their mind that everyone's going to make fun of them if they lose. The wheels are going to start to come off.
And
Dak's
don't
going to
forget,
feel the pressure.
They missed
it's
a field goal, which would have given them another 2-score lead.
Dallas did.
Yeah,
that's correct. Yes.
I mean, the Eagles really.
It was all right there.
Yeah.
Because in my opinion, that's where they lost the game. When they settled for 3 at the beginning of the second half and didn't get 6 and didn't set the tone for the remainder of the second half, I think that's where the game unofficially slipped away from this team.
Well, I think what really cost them the game, honestly, is the fact that they couldn't stop the run. And I know that they're missing their cornerbacks, but you cannot let Zeke get 100. What did he get? 170 yards last
170
night?
total yards. I think it was like 135 on the ground. Can you bring up his stats, Frank? Zeke's.
I mean, he had
Zeke's. All right. Let me pull it up.
You cannot allow him to run the ball like that. I mean, the Eagles were what? They were second in the league against the run.
Guess what? Jason Garrett and Scott Linehan, they did different things that they haven't done all season with Zeke. They ran like the misdirection.
Oh yeah.
And
the read options. Yeah.
That misdirection like crease play where Zeke would just burst through a hole.
What about the option?
That's all scheme.
All right.
So
Zeke Elliott's stat line: 19 attempts, 151 yards, with an average of 7.9 yards per carry. 6 receptions, 36 yards, with a touchdown as well. 2 all-purpose touchdowns.
You cannot allow Zeke to get 150
You got to win the line
rushing.
of scrimmage in the NFL to have a chance.
That's utterly,
it's inexcusable.
That's utterly ridiculous.
This is where the Philadelphia fan base got lulled to sleep because the Eagles have a very good run defense and Dallas struggles to win games
but that's
when Zeke
where they
doesn't
lost,
get going.
But that's where they lost the game.
See, I don't agree. I don't agree with you because the fact that the Eagles played that bad and only lost by 7 points is an indictment on Dallas for being dumpster fire in their own right.
Dallas is not that good a team. But the bottom line is they were able to keep the Eagle defense on the field because of the run because Zeke was running the ball so effectively. And that can't happen, especially at home. I mean, how many yards total did they run for yesterday? It's like 200 yards?
He had 100 Zeke Elliott. He had 171.
No, all those running backs. I mean, that other guy came in and he was pretty effective too. I mean,
everyone was effective.
That's
last
ridiculous.
Night.
You can't.
To the same point, everyone was ineffective on the Eagles last night. Where are the linebackers on this team? I haven't seen a linebacker make a play since Jeremiah Trotter in 2005.
They didn't show up last
Jordan
night.
Hicks has been a no-show. Bradham's been a no-show for weeks. Cruz Hill dropped an easy pick 6, which would have set the tone big time.
That was in the first quarter, wasn't it?
That was right off the bat in the first quarter. That's correct.
Yeah.
I was right in front of my seats, too. I thought he was going to walk in. It went right through his hands. And it happened. There's a reason he's a linebacker. He doesn't.
Well, yeah,
he's a linebacker, not a tight end for a reason.
Right.
That's okay, but that's another
missed
opportunity.
Yeah.
The Eagles had their chances last night. They had their chances.
Also, the last drive, the fact that they were never getting out of bounds. Everything was up the middle.
Who wasn't getting out of bounds?
On that last drive, when they had 1:20 and they had to march, try to get a touchdown. Every pass they were throwing was up the middle, was down the middle. I mean, you got to.
They are playing defense to protect the sidelines.
I understand that, but you've got to find a way to get out of bounds a couple of times and stop the clock. I mean,
I understand. And that's part of my beef with Carson Wentz. Everyone say, how can you say Carson Wentz wasn't sharp when he had 360-yard passing? How many of those? How many of those were when the Cowboys were in prevent defense?
Yeah,
just
a lot of them
letting
were
get 20 yards a catch.
A lot of them were garbage time. I mean, that last drive, all those yards were garbage time yards. I mean, the Cowboys just wanted to make sure they didn't get a touchdown. And I'll tell you what, the Eagles, what do they end up with the ball on the 9-yard line at the end of the game? I mean, they came close.
Not that close, but they were.
They came close. They came close.
They just defended the goal line.
Yeah, basically, which is all you have to do when you have a touchdown lead. Just keep the other team out of the end zone.
All right, let's go to the
But
people.
yeah, they
Let's
got
go
it.
to the
I mean,
people.
that's just a real and Golden Tate not being on the field in the fourth quarter. That's
I'm
another
going to
one.
get to that in a minute because that makes
Yeah.
no sense to me.
And it's mentioned in the YouTube comments that, well, Foolish Demon does say that Golden Tate played 29% of the
29%.
snaps.
29% of the snaps.
Yeah,
Good,
Doug
good,
Peterson
good
got
call there, Demon. Good call. I mean, for whatever reason, he wasn't out there. I mean, how come Amari Cooper can be out there in the fourth quarter and Golden Tate isn't out
That's
there
right.
in the fourth quarter?
Jason Garrett and his coaching staff did a much better job integrating their prize trade target than that of
And he
Doug
was pretty.
Peterson
He
and
was
the
pretty
Eagles.
effective last night.
Yes, yeah, I think he had 5 catches for 75 yards in
That's
in
not
that
bad.
neighborhood.
That's not
Didn't
bad.
score he scored a touchdown in his first game.
Yep.
All right, Sean Spellman, ha 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 ha. How the blank do you lose at home on Dallas week? Okay, go Giants. Okay.
Okay.
Hopefully Sean feels better that he got that off his chest. Yeah, I mean, the
Sean,
Eagles lost.
by the way, Sean, just a little comment. Being a Giant fan, you know, if the Giants lose tonight, there's going to be some heads rolling. Just to let you know,
Rob Povia,
I want to let you know that.
Alshon, because he's on my fantasy team. That's in reference to the poll question.
Yep.
Getting back to the narrative I was trying to set up tonight. Like, who on this team is likable? I don't like anybody on this team. This team, it's just not likable. It doesn't endear itself to this fan base like they did last year. And I don't understand how the same players that were key players in a Super Bowl championship team last year have just fallen off a cliff and seem to have forgotten how to play football in 2018.
That happens a lot, though, Rob. It just does. There's
To this extent, I mean,
there's no explanation for it. But it happens quite often. It seems like the only team it doesn't happen to is New England. It just seems like every other team that gets there, it just seems like they slide right down the proverbial slope. I mean, you know, they get one step away, or they win, and then but it usually seems to happen more to teams that lose the Super Bowl than
you
win.
look around at this team. They don't have any running backs to speak of.
No, they're.
I don't
running
even
backs
think.
stink
I don't
right now.
think any of the Eagles' 3 running backs that dressed last night would dress for the Saints or the Rams or an elite team.
No.
So not only do they not have a feature running back, they don't even have a running back that's capable of dressing on a good team.
Yeah, and why did they let LeGarrette Blount walk? By the way, still
You know,
trying to figure that one out.
money, but that hurts.
He was really good last year.
Sean Spellman says we got embarrassed. I'm aware. Sean. You want to hit this the breaking news sounder, Frank? So we can. The Eagles got embarrassed last night. The Eagles got embarrassed.
Oh, we got a
last
new.
night. They
We got a new.
lost 27-20.
Oh, you're gonna love this one.
We got a new one.
We do. It's like ramped up the.
Is it like the tornado warning?
Oh
thing?
no, it's even better.
It's better than that one?
It's schmaz to a T. Here you go.
No, I like the
like
one.
that.
I like the one that Brodo hit when Cousins signed with the Warriors.
Oh.
That one.
Oh, that one.
Yeah.
Oh.
Like the
I can't find the siren for
yeah,
some reason.
The air raid siren.
That was.
I mean, they needed a new.
That was enough to scare half the neighborhood around here.
All right, Greg Milkovic, what's up, fam? Can the answer be no one, Ella? But I guess I'll go with Wentz because he's the best we have right now. And yeah, that's the logical answer. Carson Wentz is the logical answer. He wasn't sharp last night. He didn't cost them the game. We're not putting Foles in the game. We're not doing anything crazy like that.
No, Foles is not going to make
He
it.
just wasn't sharp last night, in my opinion.
In the first half, in particular.
Correct.
He made some nice throws in the second half, though.
He did.
I'll
He's
tell
a
you,
good
there
player.
there was one.
All
there
right,
was
then.
one throw that I was so impressed with. Somebody he went
something
back
I
to
saw.
throw.
Something I saw in a different chat. They figured out there was some mystery being solved.
Somebody came, but when
Some
somebody
mystery
came in,
being solved
A mystery was being solved.
concerning burner accounts.
Yes.
Oh man, are we gonna
Yeah.
break some news on the burner
But
accounts?
I have no idea who it is because there was something that I received a call, but I can't answer it because I'm producing right now. But they figured out the mystery between a notable chat member in the Real
you
Talk
figure
group.
it out. You play that goofy sounder.
It's like
lot
it's the best goofy sounder out there.
A lot of people are really
Apparently
into the
apparently
ATV.
2 dudes are running it, so it's gonna be
good for
something.
them.
Yep. Our resident Winnipeg guy figured it out.
Oh yeah.
Oh well.
The guy
You
who wants
mean-
the guy who wants to kill me and drink my
Are you
blood
talking about the
like
team
a
that
psycho?
Are you talking about the team that lost 2 games last week to Toronto?
Oh.
Zing.
Bazooper.
Jason
Oh.
Conklin. Wentz got better numbers. I understand he has better numbers in some aspects of his game in regards to this year as opposed to last year. But man, you can't watch these football games and tell me that Carson Wentz is playing quarterback better this year than he did last year.
No, it's
in
not
his
even.
MB run.
It's not even. It's not even
He
close.
took the whole league by storm. I mean, the Eagles clowned everyone last year because of Carson Wentz.
The Eagles.
Unfortunately,
The
he got
Eagles'
hurt.
offense last year was
And I'm
almost
not buying.
unstoppable.
And I'm not buying the narrative that I understand he had major knee surgery, tore a bunch of ligaments in his knee. I'm not an idiot. I have watched sports before. I understand that takes a while to come back from. But I've seen him look like the old Carson Wentz pre-ACL multiple times this year. Preferably against the Jacksonville Jaguars, where he completely pulled the game out of his rear end to beat the Jacksonville Jaguars and save the season. And he shredded, albeit the Giants, but the optics of that performance of Carson Wentz shredding the New York Giants was the optics of 2017 MVP Carson Wentz. So I've seen him be MVP Carson Wentz of
What has happened?
2017.
Let me ask you a question. What has happened to the
in
Eagles'
2018,
offensive line?
well, it's injured, Brad, and it's regressed. Jason Peters is not good. Big V has not translated his success from last year.
They missed Johnson last night.
Isaac
obviously.
Sambalu is terrible. Jason Kelsey and Brandon Brooks, they're pretty solid.
Oh, they're still.
Yeah,
They show, Al Michaels showed a play not Al Michaels, I'm sorry, Chris Collingsworth showed a play where, the Eagles did a screen pass, how he suckered the Dallas lineman in to go up the middle, and then they threw the ball outside, and he was totally taken out of the play. I mean, they showed a couple of nuances of how good a player that guy is, and it's pretty remarkable. I mean, he is one hell of an offensive lineman.
right. But getting back to
But
Carson's
I
don't buy the knee injury narrative.
Nah.
And yes, I understand that it's a major injury, but I've seen him be MVP Carson Wentz on at least 2 occasions this year: the Jaguars and the Giants.
Yeah,
I've seen it.
Who are both really stinky teams this year.
But I understand that. I'm a big optics guy. I'm a big eye test guy. I know what I see. I trust what I see. And I post on social media what I see. And I talk about on the show that I see. I'm not an analytics guy. I'm not a big stats guy other than my fantasy football
The problem
teams.
is the offensive line is not blowing guys off the line of scrimmage like they did last year. And that is a big factor. And they have no running game. And it's very hard to win when you have no running game at all. And they really don't.
I can't argue that.
I mean, the problem is, Rob, the defense knows
And I
that
don't
they
wanna
can't
get
run the
into it,
football.
'cause
They
I've
knows
already
they
been-
can't run, so they're basically they're going to drop back and they're going to make it very difficult for Carson Wentz to beat him long. They're going to have to throw short passes, and when you start with having to do 15 play drives, inevitably something always will go wrong, whether it's a penalty or a sack or just a bad play to put you behind the chains. That's what happens if you try to rely on long drives. They don't always work, especially if you can't run the football.
Psycho James Wilder, you're saying because they didn't get a TD at the beginning in the third quarter, they fell apart. They started scoring after that. I understand that, but you had them. You had
your foot on
you
their
had the
throat.
three.
And
You had
didn't
the
step
three on
on
their.
it.
You had the 3 and out with the big hit by Bennett, who is the only Eagle that played what I would classify as a great game last night. He was all over the place. Certainly showed up on the big stage of Sunday Night Football against the Dallas Cowboys. So not my favorite player in the world, but I do got to give credit where credit's due. You get the big hit by him. You get the big 3 and out. You go all the way down the field, and then you're right on the doorstep to make it 13-10. Then, you get
They
you get
had,
3 instead of 6. That's a
Rob,
huge
they could have
confidence.
put-
It's a huge confidence
They
boost
could-
for the Cowboys.
Yeah, they could have put their feet on their throat and stepped on them at that point, and they didn't do it. So the Cowboys are saying, okay, we kept them back. Now, if the Cowboys hadn't
We
blown
just
that field
took
goal,
the Dallas
it would have
Cowboy
been 16
mentality.
it would have been 16-6 because it should have been 16-6.
You're probably right. That wasn't a hard field goal that
No, that should
Dallas
have been
kicker
made.
mixed. But it totally flipped at the beginning of the second half to the Eagles really starting to seize control of the game and potentially walking away with the game, which is what I think would have happened if they got a touchdown there.
I agree because they would have been completely on a
It's
roll.
a huge momentum shift because all of a sudden it's Eagles killing it, and then Dallas gets a huge stop, holds them to 3. Then Dallas and that idiot Jason Garrett is clapping his hands, high-fiving everyone like they did something good, which they did.
They did. They stopped
They
them from getting a
snatched
touchdown.
momentum.
Yeah,
They stopped the Eagles' momentum
that was a
dead
huge,
in its tracks.
I mean, listen, it
and
took
I
the,
need Carson Wentz to punch that football in.
It
I
took
do.
the air out of the. It took the air out of the stadium. I mean, I didn't hear anybody cheering when they kicked the field goal.
No.
It was quiet.
I wasn't.
It was
I
quiet
was
last.
quite
it was
angry.
Quiet when, yeah, it was quiet last night when they kicked. If they would have scored a touchdown, you would have had the sirens, everybody singing. The fans would have gone nuts. The Eagles' defense most likely would have been all charged up. I don't think that the Cowboys would have been able to drive the ball. I mean, listen, if it wasn't for a missed field goal right after when they made it 13-6, it should have been 16-6.
And James Wilder left the chat.
Well,
Said he's out.
Oh.
okay. Well,
Oh, I think he's still solving some mysteries or
I
something.
want him to come back.
Come back, Wilder. Come back.
I'm kidding.
We need ya.
Stay away, James. I love the fans. I love all the people at AT&T Radio. James Wilder, you're a psycho.
yes, indeed, he is.
A complete psycho. James Reiner. Ertz deserves credit. That's about it. You see, now Ertz is a good player. He's
Ertz
a
is
top
a
5
real good
tight end in
player.
the league. I don't understand why you run a 6-yard out on 4th and 7. It's one of my biggest pet peeves. You're relying on yak from a player who's notoriously falls down right after catching the football.
Yeah, you can't do that.
You
can't
got to
do
run past the sticks.
that.
That's
He's
bad
not-
football IQ.
He's not. He is not one of those guys. He's not like Odell
That's
Beckham,
bad coaching.
who's going to catch the ball 2 yards in front of the line of scrimmage and he's going to run for 10 yards. It's not going to happen.
That's
and you
bad
gotta
coaching,
recognize
and
that.
that's bad football IQ on Zach Ertz's
You got to
part.
get the ball. You got to get the ball.
Just because he's a great
Jeffrey.
player doesn't mean he's a student in the game and knows what's going on.
But you got
all
to get the
time.
ball into Jeffrey's hands in those situations too. I think they sometimes Carson
I
looks
don't know.
down.
I don't know what the Cowboys did scheme-wise against Jeffrey, but
I
he
think
got
they
his
gotta get-
catches, but he wasn't going off like he was in
No, and I do believe that he's unstoppable
past.
if they throw the ball to him. I think, and he gets
Well,
better.
absolutely. If
He
he's
gets
gonna
better.
if he's gonna demand that coverage, then Ertz is gonna have games, and then
yeah,
you know,
and if
Tate will get his.
and you know what? And they'll even and guess what? They'll even be able to run the ball if that happens, a little bit. But the problem is right now they're not running the ball. And boy, I'll tell you what, if they can't run the ball in New Orleans, it's going to get ugly because the Eagles right now are not equipped to get into a slugfest with the Saints right now. If that game becomes a chuck it down the field type of game,
Oh, the Eagles aren't equipped to get
they're not
getting a
equipped.
slugfest with absolutely anybody right now,
Yeah,
let
that-
alone
that
the
could
best
be-
team in the NFL, the New Orleans Saints.
By the way, a little credit to the Tennessee Titans yesterday, who really put the hammer to Tom Brady and the New England Patriots.
They did. Good for them.
I mean that
They beat the Cowboys and the Patriots back to back.
Tennessee is starting to.
I picked them to go to the playoffs.
Yeah, I picked them to win that division.
That's one of the few losses this year where I wasn't that upset. Obviously, it looked bad because of the 4th and 15, but I think Tennessee's a good team. I think they've got a chance to go to the playoffs. I
Listen,
picked them to go to the playoffs.
If Mariota doesn't lose the game for them, they'll be okay because that defense is a real tough defense. And boy, it's so great to just see the Patriots get annihilated. That's just
And then James Renner, thanks for checking in, James. Looks like a newcomer to the Sports Hounds. Ertz, Wentz, and Cox all deserve credit. Jenkins, I'm afraid, might have lost a step and is also a victim of who is around him. I don't think Jenkins has lost a step. last night was the first game of the season where Malcolm Jenkins didn't make a play where I was just dumbfounded, wowed about how good he is. We'll give him a pass. We'll chalk it up. But, I mean,
Who's gonna
Fletcher Cox was
who's gonna
missing
cover?
Fletcher Cox was missing in action.
Who's gonna
Brandon
cover Thomas
Graham's been-
next week? That's my
What?
question. Who's gonna cover Thomas
Who?
next week? Who's gonna cover Thomas next
Michael
week?
Thomas?
Yeah.
Nobody. Who do you think's going to who
I'm just curious.
You watched the game last night.
I don't know. I'm just
Can anybody in the league cover Michael Thomas right now?
the best guys can't.
You think Rasul Douglas is going to cover Michael Thomas?
No.
He's going to try.
I mean. But
Hopefully Jalen Mills can play so we
Listen.
can have some semblance
Listen,
of a professional
what-
corner out
what's
there.
Josh Norman couldn't cover him. He was abusing
Michael
Josh Norman
Thomas
for
is a
crying
stud.
out loud. Yeah, that guy is
But-
unbelievable. He might be the best in the league now.
But, I mean, you look at guys on this front because I know everyone wants to whip the defensive backfield, and they're not good. They're not talented. They've had a lot of injuries.
But they weren't the reason they lost. The reason they lost is because they allowed the Cowboys to run for 150
Right.
yards.
But, Brad, look at last
That's
year.
terrible.
The reason the whole defense worked is because the front four got to the quarterback.
and they were.
I'm still convinced that last year's Super Bowl winning secondary wasn't really that good.
Yeah, but they put so much pressure on the quarterbacks.
But
I
when
mean,
you can rush 4 and drop 7 in the NFL, that makes it so much easier to cover.
absolutely, and it also makes
That's
it
not happening this year. That's what's wrong with this defense. That and every time it's 3rd and 8 or longer, they play this defend the sticks defense, Harry High School nonsense where they just make a fence along the first down line and make them throw it short and then run up and try and get them.
Yeah, and that's
I
not.
hate it.
Yeah, that's I don't like
I
that
hate
either
it.
because they
They
can.
started doing it, I think, in the Titans game,
Well, that's when they did it in the Titans game, and that's
and
when
it
they
sort
got
of
burned.
worked.
But it got burnt. They got burned.
But
on
it
that
worked a
fourth
couple
down.
times, so I think Schwartzy fell in love with it a little bit.
Yeah, to a
The
point.
way
he
I
did.
remember it.
He
And
did.
now it's just they don't have defensive backs that can come up and tackle.
Put the tackle on. Yeah.
2, they
that's-
don't have a linebacker. I mean, Kruger Hill made an interception against the Giants. That was weeks ago. Off that tip pass. That's the last time an Eagles linebacker made a play. Nigel Bradham hasn't made a play all year. Jordan Hicks hasn't made a play all year. What have they done?
It's amazing, but you know what? Listen, a lot of times when teams win the Super Bowl, it's very hard for these teams to come back and play with the same intensity. I mean, it really is. That's
you know
the
what,
problem.
Brad? Because that's a bunch of nonsense too. I don't want to hear about a Super Bowl hangover after half the season and a bye week.
Well, it should be at this point. It should
How
be
can
over.
you not be ready to go against a division rival at home? 3 straight home losses now for this team, a team that was unbeatable at home under Doug Peterson prior to this year. I don't know, man. I think there might be merit to what you just brought up at the top of the show. I think Doug and this offense and Carson Wentz miss DeFilippo and Reich or both.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, because you look at them and you look at what's going on now in Indianapolis with that offense. And I listen. I know Andrew Luck is a real good quarterback, but and it took a couple of games for him to really get going. But if you take a look right now, that team is
They've
really
won 4 straight.
Yeah, that team is really starting to turn it on.
They might make a playoff run.
That division is now becoming a real tough division. I mean, Tennessee's playing well, the Texans are playing well, and the Colts are playing well, and meanwhile Jacksonville is going downhill. And I'll tell you something about Jacksonville.
They're horrible.
Yeah, and you know what? I get why they traded that defensive end.
Dante Fowler?
Yeah, I get it now because did you watch the Ram game at all yesterday
I did
against
not.
Seattle?
I
Okay,
didn't.
well,
I went to the game
he-
yesterday with
okay,
my dad, so
he
I missed
made-
the 4 o'clock.
he took 2 of the stupidest penalties you will ever see
Yeah.
with the Rams. The Rams twice had Seattle stopped, and this guy is taking penalties after the play. And on both those series, the Rams ended up giving up touchdowns. Now, yes, he did create the strip sack that ended up winning the game for them in the fourth quarter. But you can see now, after seeing that, I get why Jacksonville got rid of him. There's definitely something up with that guy. I mean, he doesn't use his head. I mean, he lets his emotions get totally carried away, and he makes dumb plays.
John Brocious. Wentz is my most likable guy. We're lucky to have him in Philly. Good dude on and off the field. I think Tate may be another guy we can all like toward the end of the year. I mean, I hope so.
You got to get him more integrated
I
in the
hope so.
offense. I mean, you can't have him sitting on the bench
Henry
in that spot.
Henry Buddy White says agree. I don't know if he's agreeing with John's comment there. And
I mean, he might agree with one of your points or someone else,
Right.
but
see,
agree could be anything at this point.
and then Jason Ritter, too much cushion for receivers. Teams have figured out the quick passes, slants, hitches, bubbles, etc. Neutralizes pass rush. Drew Brees flourishes doing that. Need to score early to set pace. Forcing. Hold on. Forcing. I lost it. Forcing. There it is. Forcing offenses to throw more down the field. That's the biggest distance. We led in games early last year. This year we are catching up almost every game. All valid points by, what's his name? Jason. Great points. Great comment.
Here's one thing.
Jason, let's just get one thing. Let's forget about
one
next
thing.
week.
One thing you have to understand, though.
You
and
need
if
to get
you watch-
yourself right for
you
the
watch-
games that you can actually win. This team can't beat the Saints.
You
They
also
can't
you,
beat the
you
Saints.
watch the Saints, and what is the one thing that the Saints have in common with the Eagles last year? Both teams have had unbelievable offensive lines. Right now, the Saints are blowing teams off the line.
Mm-hmm.
So Kamara, every time Kamara gets the ball, he's a threat to take it all the way. Every time Drew Brees throws the ball to Thomas, there's a chance that it could be a touchdown. I mean, and the reason is because Drew Brees can go back there, have a cup of coffee, maybe have a donut while he's eating that cup of coffee, while he's drinking that cup of coffee, look up and down, figure out, okay, do I have time? Should I throw a bubble screen or should I throw the ball deep? He's got all kinds of time, and that's what happened with the Eagles last year. Their offensive
absolutely
line
right.
was so good last year. They blew everybody off the line of scrimmage, and they were basically able to do whatever they wanted. You know,
Now-
this year for whatever, and I know that they've got a lot of injuries. I get that, but the bottom line
See,
is
my thing
it's
with
not
this,
they're not doing that, and that's what's killing them right
my
now
thing
offensively.
with this team on the defensive side of the ball, I'll switch to the defensive side of the ball, the trenches of the defensive side of the ball, I should say. This front four, they're making a lot of money. These guys up front for the Eagles, the front four on the Eagles defensive line are making a lot of money.
And
to
they're
get
all
home.
great, and they're all great players.
Well, they're not playing great.
They
And
didn't
that's
play
the,
great
that's
last night.
the problem. That's the problem with this defense. The front four are not getting home. They are not providing enough pressure because Jim Schwartz, for better or worse, he's going to be our defense coordinator. He's not going to get canned in the middle of the season. He doesn't blitz. He just doesn't. He never has. He never will. He needs the wide nine technique to get home with his front four pass rushers.
He needs to
They
dial it
did
up.
that last year, and I think it covered up a lot of deficiencies, a lot of Darby's deficiencies and a lot of Mills's deficiencies. I think that's the disconnect in this defense because
Darby, but
we all
Darby,
know that the
Darby and Mills are not bad players, though. I mean, it's not
well,
like
they're both injured,
yeah, but I'm just saying when they're healthy,
and
they're
that
not,
doesn't help.
they're
That
not
doesn't
bad
help
players
either.
No, and the fact that
But
what are they?
if
they're
this
missing,
front four was
they're missing
getting
three. They're missing three corners now, right?
three corners and a safety,
I mean, that's an impossible situation to be.
Darby's
able to,
done. Who knows about Sidney Jones? Jalen Mills has a sprained foot. Hopefully, he can suit it up against the Saints, and Rodney McLeod's done for the year with a torn MCL.
That's just too much to ask for. That's too many. That's too many injuries in the
It's-
same area. I mean, listen, I know the Eagles had some injuries last year, but they were able to have guys fill in, but they didn't have like a bunch of injuries to one spot. And when you start having injuries to one spot, especially on your defense, where it's the secondary, where the secondary is completely decimated like that, it's impossible to be able to.
If Jalen Mills can't play on Sunday, I mean, we're talking about having guys that were sitting on the couch like we are,
Yeah,
talking about football.
You're talking about practice squad players trying to defend
play
that
against
team.
the Saints.
Yeah, and the Saints
not
right
gonna
now,
work.
right now the Saints are scoring literally every time they have the ball, and especially at home. I mean, offensively, they're just phenomenal at home.
Zach Stern, C.J. Anderson, Philly. Like, Zach, come on, stop. Stop with C.J. Anderson.
C.J. Anderson.
C.J. Anderson can't play anymore. Just stop.
No.
Stop.
No.
It
No.
doesn't matter. You need to abandon the RPO nonsense and let Carson go play football. You need to let Carson let it rip like he did in 2017. That's the fix that I see from an offensive standpoint. And from a defensive standpoint, the secondary is not going to get any better. They're all hurt. So you got to get home with your front four. Fletcher Cox, Brandon Graham, I haven't heard his name in weeks. Linebackers got to step up. I mean, Connor Long has not had the season that he had this year that he did last year. It's just not good in Philadelphia. It's just not good. It's a total mess. It's a total dumpster fire. And everyone's to blame. Doug, Carson, Ertz, the offensive line, the defense. Everybody has an equal share in why this team is an absolute dumpster fire right now. Because the fact that it was only a 7-point game last night is an indictment on the Cowboys and how bad a team they are. Because it should have been 23, maybe 26-3 at halftime last night.
Oh, I agree. No, the Cowboys offensively last night. Dak Prescott was not good last night. Let's make that something perfectly.
I thought he played well in the second half.
Second half he did, but the first half he really wasn't. I mean, the problem is the Eagles just for some reason offensively.
Dak Prescott,
they look
for as much
so
as I
sluggish.
hate him, he took what the Eagles gave him. He delivered the ball on time. He delivered the ball accurately, and he let his playmakers make plays.
He didn't.
It was the exact.
He didn't get in the
It
way.
was the perfect game script when you have a stinky quarterback like Dak Prescott. They ran the ball. They ran short passes. When they took their shots, he delivered the ball on time, accurately, and let his receivers make plays. It was the perfect game script for Dak Prescott to succeed. And I don't understand how Doug Peterson can get out coached by Jason Garrett.
There's no excuse for that.
I don't understand how it could happen.
There's no excuse for that.
And just some of the play calls. I mean, that garbage screen they ran on before the play with Ertz, before the 4th and 7 play. That little bubble screen pass when it was 3rd and 2 and they lost 5 yards.
That was a dumb play.
It made no sense.
That was a dumb play.
How many times can you run a bubble screen?
Well, when they start looking
All
for
they do is RPOs and run bubble screens and quick slants.
Yeah, and it's not.
Anytime this football team decides they want to throw the ball down the field and stretch the
They
field,
have.
it works.
Yeah, they
How
have.
did they get in contention against the Panthers? They took a shot to Alshon Jeffrey deep. He got a pass interference call, and they were in business. And Carson didn't.
And nobody can.
didn't convert.
And nobody can cover Alshon Jeffrey.
Not yet this season.
1-on-1, no.
I don't know what
No.
the Dallas Cowboys did scheme. I don't study the game. I watch the game on TV. I don't have game film. Not that I would even know what was going on if I did have the game film. But Dallas did a good job not letting Alshon Jeffrey beat them.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. But at the same point, yeah, he didn't play well last night. Not in the first half at least. And you know what? They could not make up
I
for
thought
it.
Carson left some throws on the table. I thought he left some plays on the table in the first half.
Yeah, and again, as you were
I
referring to
thought there
before,
were some of those
they left some points. They left some points on the table too with those field goals.
and they also had a horrendous 4th down play call.
Yes,
when
I would agree.
we're having some technical difficulties here. I think Frank's
Oh, okay, so
working
it's
on
not me then.
no.
Okay,
That's all right.
okay.
The show must go on, Brad.
Yeah, so having trouble with my YouTube because all of a sudden I got knocked
The
offline.
show must go on. The show will go on. But getting back to the Scanzano Sports poll question of the night here live in the Real Talk Studios, Mount E from New Jersey, as always, Gibson Mare LLC brings you the Sports Hounds live on Facebook, live on YouTube. Find us on social media.
All right,
Join
we
the
are still
conversation.
live on YouTube. We got some new comments.
Go ahead, rattle
Coming
them off.
in.
Rattle them off.
Well,
Frank.
I'm looking off from the big computer right now. We got Jericho Beats 24 saying Doug not humble at all anymore. He only humble when Doug lose. And then B-Dubs joining in the conversation. He says, we had no defense, no offensive line last night. What the F? Season is over. He is sick to his stomach over this season. They lose every game by a touchdown. And Todd Womack joining into the chat. Philly Dilly, guys.
Philly Dilly, Todd.
Philly Dilly.
Back to the humble part of Doug, because Doug is not humble anymore. Doug wrote a book. Doug won the Super Bowl. Doug's feeling himself. Doug fell in love with the RPOs because that's what he won the Super Bowl with Carson Wentz. Doug needs to get back in reality and try and finish this season strong, because this division, believe it or not, as bad as they were last night, is still in play. It's my opinion that the Washington Redskins have a stranglehold on this division, but
Right now they sure as heck do.
The Washington Redskins division to lose, in my opinion. And I don't see how I can pick the Eagles to even finish second after they just lost to the Dallas Cowboys last night. So the Eagles are the third wheel right now.
Well, they've got to pick up their level of play. I mean, it's.
But see, this is what I was afraid of. They come out flat off the bye. They drop a game to a bad Dallas team that they should beat, and now you're forced to either beat Los Angeles Rams, which is a tall task, or the Saints. Both those games are on the road.
And they're going to be very tough games to win.
And now you have to win one. You might have to win both to be in the mix for
and honestly,
they've
now put themselves in a position
you can
where
forget about the wild card at 10 wins because your conference record is so out of whack with losses to Tampa, with a loss to Minnesota, Carolina, and now Dallas. That's 4 conference losses. Carolina and Dallas are potentially teams that you're going to be fighting for.
Rob, at this point, they have to
for
sweep
a wild card tiebreaker.
They have to sweep Washington. If Washington splits the series with them,
it's done.
They're not going to win the division. I mean, they have to. They now have to put themselves in a position where they have to win both those games, and that's not going to be easy.
Not at all.
That's fact right now.
Not at all. What was the second comment over there? After the humble Doug Humble.
All right, so this is from B-Dubs. We had no defense, no offensive line last night. WTF, season is over, and he is sick to his stomach over this season. They lose every game by a touchdown.
I can't argue any of that, Brad.
He's pretty much on the money. I mean, it's hard to believe that they would come out like that against their arch rival.
It's unfathomable. It's unforgivable. It was such a gutless, heartless performance. It was so disappointing. I expected such a fierce rivalry in a home game.
I expected the Eagles
in a game you had to have. They come out like that, and that's coaching.
Oh, I agree with you. They came out their offense. They
were not
prepared. They were not prepared. I mean, no question about that. And it just seemed like as the first half went on, it was getting worse and worse. I mean, and you're right, Rob. They were lucky in the first half. They weren't down like 27-3. They're lucky it wasn't like the pacing the Jets took yesterday in the first half, because it could have been
right.
It could have been that
ugly
bad.
Quick.
Yeah, it could have been that bad. But you know.
But that goes to my point that Dallas wasn't good enough to put them away the whole time.
No, they weren't. And every time they had a chance to put them away,
and it's very hard.
They didn't.
It's very hard to keep a player the caliber of Carson Wentz at bay for 60 minutes.
No, but the problem
it's almost impossible.
The Eagles cannot, in this league, the way the defenses are, and the way you're not allowed to get away with things in the secondaries anymore. They have to score more than 20 points to win.
You need to score more than 3 points out the shoot in the first half. That's unacceptable.
You can't. I mean, especially at home.
It's gutless.
Yeah, that team
it's
with
no
the players
heart.
they have, they need to be scoring 30 points a game. I mean, there's no reason why they can't.
All the good teams get 30 points a game.
You're right.
Relatively speaking.
Yeah.
I mean,
you take a look at
the Chiefs, the Rams, the Patriots,
the Saints. Yeah, no, you're right.
All the teams that we're talking about as potential dream Super Bowl matchups, they all score 30 points a game.
Yeah.
And even
guess what? not one of those teams, except maybe the Rams, has a shutdown defense.
Even the second tier teams.
It's not how you win games anymore.
Rob,
it's not 1995.
Right. Even the
you're not
second
gonna win
tier
it.
teams.
You're not going to win a game 17-10. You're not going to do it. It doesn't
then,
happen.
like the Panthers and the Bears, teams like that. They still scored. They're still scoring around 25, 26 points a game. They're averaging. I mean,
that's close to 30.
Yeah,
That's
Eagles,
where you got to be.
When have the Eagles scored that many points?
I saw a stat today.
I'm not talking about the Giant game. The Giants stink. I mean, everybody scores points against the Giants.
The Eagles have failed to score 21 points in their last 5 games, and they haven't done that since 1998.
Wow.
Yeah, and in today's NFL,
I only saw the stat. I didn't research the stat. So
okay, in today's NFL, you're going to lose a lot of games playing like that.
You might lose every game playing like that. This is why you need a touchdown and not a field goal when you have their foot,
you're right.
on their throat
that's the
at
point.
the beginning of the second half, early third quarter.
And I understand that's the point you were trying to make. And I agree with you because that's where they could have completely taken over the game.
The Eagles had the momentum for the first time all night. And then Dallas defense stepped up, and then the momentum switched right on back.
Yeah, and again, had
Very frustrating.
Had Dallas not missed that field goal, I mean, that game could have gotten butt ugly in the fourth quarter.
All right. So over in the YouTube chat, I think we're just over to YouTube right now.
Good.
Thank you for joining us over on YouTube. If you're jumping over to Facebook, thank you for jumping over to YouTube. We got Dion Brown.
Dion.
Hey, Dion.
Joining in the YouTube chat, he says, "What's up, fellas?" They
One
played.
of my favorites, Dion. We need more guys like Dion, less guys like James Wilder.
The Eagles play.
boy.
That's what we need.
Yikes. The Eagles played very undisciplined football last night. Players walking to the line of scrimmage. Dougie P better get a hold of this team now or it's officially a wrap.
Do you think Doug Peterson's lost this team, Brad, as an outside viewer?
I don't know if he's lost the team. I think injuries, unfortunately,
I think Dion just made some
play
good points.
a lot into it. But
Where you finish the comment, Frank? I'm sorry.
That's
you're
what he
not
said.
You're not gonna fire the guy over. You're not gonna fire the guy over one bad season after he won the Super Bowl.
absolutely
I mean,
not.
Yeah,
he gets that. But I mean, there is an issue there. There might be an issue with him and the locker room. And again, they may have to make some changes in the off season with this team.
Well,
They're
Jim Schwartz can go pound sand and go coach somewhere else.
and that's what
Sorry.
Todd Womack says in the
Yeah.
chat as well. He says, talking about
I don't
right
wanna make
before
it-
leading up to Schwartz, he says he brought up the 29% of Golden Tate snaps, and then Amari Cooper and the who was the other
I don't
player?
understand
Was
the
that
Golden Tate.
80% snap rate? And then he also says Schwartz is getting fired, and they need to get Todd Bowles
Not a
from the
bad
Jets.
Toilet bowls? Yeah, right.
And he also says the messed up part was that the Eagles did not have a penalty last night.
Is that true? Wow.
Yeah,
They had no penalties last night.
no penalties.
They're usually good for about 5 just false starts.
Yeah.
The
At least 3 of them
the
caused by
Jet-
Jason
the
Peters.
Jets, the Jets had one play yesterday to show you how futile they were. They had one play where there was 3 flags on the play. There were 3 different holding penalties against the Jets on the same play.
Okay, but I think Todd Bowles.
That's not easy.
I think Todd's point is that Todd Bowles would be a much more success
As a
successful
defensive
as
coordinator,
a defensive coordinator as opposed to a head coach.
I agree because as a head coach, he's terrible.
He went to Temple. He's got Philly roots. He was an assistant here before.
Maybe. I mean, look, as I said, as a defensive
Didn't he
coordinator,
take over, Frank, when after Juan Castillo?
I
crashed and
think
burned?
so. Yes.
wasn't he? I thought he was with St. Louis, not St.
I
Louis.
know. I know. Bowles was on that
Cardinals.
staff. Yeah.
He was hired as a full-time
Think
defensive
I
coordinator.
think Bowles
there.
and Rivera were both on that staff, if I remember correctly, during the Juan Castillo as defensive coordinator era.
Oh, what a disaster that was! Oh my God. But also, before how long till break, Frank?
About 5 minutes.
Okay, I gotta get this off my chest as well.
You want a nice little bed of music to go along with that rant?
No. It's not that. It's not that type of rant.
Oh, it's not that kind of rant.
You
Got
can't
it.
ask me, but you gotta see me get going on a head of steam, and then you gotta.
Then play it out.
Like
No.
Like some violins.
That's why you're getting paid to produce the show.
Oh
You can't,
boy,
like,
here we go.
Yep.
You gotta, you gotta see me getting
All right.
excited, upset, and then boom, drop the bet in.
Drop it in.
That's
All
how.
right.
That's
All right.
That's how a grown man would do it.
All right.
Oh my God.
Usually I would do this out of nowhere on the fix, but on
No,
Sports Hounds, I gotta make sure that the Hounds are fine with it.
We're fine.
Frank, you're golden. You're
I know.
golden with us. You do whatever you want.
You have.
We're in your hands.
All right.
But, the narrative that, like, you can't, if you're critical of a team in Philadelphia, that it voids your fan card, I'm about sick and tired of it. Because I can be critical. I can say Carson Wentz wasn't sharp last night, which he wasn't, and still be a Carson Wentz fan. I can say Ben
God
Simmons
forbid.
needs to shoot more and shoot better free throws, still be a Sixers fan, still be a Ben Simmons fan. I mean, what are we doing? Are these goons out here taking notes of everything people say? Oh, 2016, you said Ben Simmons can't shoot foul shots. You're not allowed to be a Ben Simmons fan. You're off the Sixers bandwagon. You're a bandwagon jumper, jumping off the Walt Whitman Bridge because of a loss to the Clippers in the regular season. Yeah, I was pissed they lost to the Clippers because they played like complete garbage, and I'm allowed to voice my opinion, and it doesn't void my fan card. I don't like this narrative that's going on, specifically in the A2D Real Talk chat. Brad, you bury New York teams all the time. Are you ostracized by the New York fans in the various groups that you're in? Do they void your fan card when you're critical of the Yankees or Aaron Boone?
No,
or
some of them
Ben McAdoo
question
or whatever it might
some
be.
of them question why I feel that way. They want to know.
Oh, like
they
normal
wanna,
people.
Yeah, they want to know.
Well, what did you see
what's
that
my
I don't?
problem?
I ask people that question all the time.
They want to
Frank.
know what my problem is, and then I'll explain what my problem is, and then they'll say, "Well, we disagree, but we understand your point."
Right.
I mean, I've explained how much I can't stand Aaron Boone 1,000 times to Yankee fans. And in fact, I think he's
feel like
one of
there's
the
few, especially in Philadelphia.
that he's a very stupid man, and he has no business running a major league baseball
Because
team.
I feel like some of the Philadelphia fans are so desperate to buck the Negadelphia trend that they're overprotective of their teams to the point where they overly criticize people like me who tell the truth and call them like I see it. It makes no sense. You got to embrace the Philly mentality. It's who we are. It's who I am. I lose my patience.
I hear you.
I get mad.
No, he doesn't get mad.
I care.
He
You know
cares,
when
but
it-
he doesn't
wait,
get mad. He just
You know
gets
when it's time to
mildly
break up
concerned.
with your girlfriend, Frank? When you
Yeah.
stop fighting. You know?
Yeah.
If you're fighting and bickering with your girlfriend, that means there's still something there. That means you both still care enough to maintain the relationship and try and make it work.
He's got a point there.
He does.
When
does.
you stop fighting and you're just like, oh, I guess we lost to the Cowboys again, and Doug Peterson really blew it, and man, I really wish Carson Wentz would have threw that ball better. But oh well, life goes on. That's when you got real problems. That's when it's dead.
So Rob
That's
has a
when
problem
it's
with
over.
Rob has a problem when the fan when it becomes apathetic. I get that. I get that. That it should never.
I
come
don't
to
think
that.
I don't like when Philadelphia fans try and buck the Negadelphia mentality by being overly positive. You got to be who you are.
Yep.
That sounds like a lot of Yankee fans I know in some of the Yankee groups that I'm in.
Right.
Don't
Like
give
the-
me
it's
this.
the
Don't give me this.
pinstripe.
Don't give
I
me
can
this.
hear 'em
Aaron
now.
Boone won 100 games. Shit. No.
Oh.
Sorry.
Oh, $1 in the swear jar. $1 in the swear jar. Brad swore.
Brad swore.
Oh man, thank God. I thought
I'm sorry. When Aaron Boone,
I
Aaron
thought
Boone,
for sure. We
when
gotta
Aaron,
get a jar.
when somebody says Aaron Boone, the first thing I think of is Ben McAdoo. I'm sorry because he's a
But
blithering
I
idiot.
can already hear the Yankee fans like, "Oh, you can."
Oh,
How do you
can't say that.
criticize a manager who won 100
27.
games?
What do you got? 27 or 28 world championships?
27.
27 world championships. How dare you criticize the manager? Like, yeah, I'm gonna criticize the manager because I didn't agree with what he did, and I'm angry that they lost the game because I want to see my team win. There's nothing wrong with being critical of Doug Peterson, Carson Wentz,
They don't pull
Zach
that card.
Ertz, Ben Simmons, Joel Embiid, whoever it may be. If they do something dumb, you don't have to be scared your fan card's gonna get voided.
But
I hate that narrative.
By the
it's
way,
so stupid.
the Yankee fans
It really
were
does. It
all
really
over,
does.
all over Giancarlo Stanton. By the way,
As they should be.
Yeah.
He did not live up to the hype.
all over him, Mr. Strikeout in the playoffs. Every time that there was a big spot and Stanton came up,
Mr.
There's a
Strikeout all
strikeout.
season.
yeah, absolutely.
What
With
are
the
you supposed
exception
to
of-
do as a
With
Yankees
the exception of a 1 month period when Judge was hurt for about a month there, he was hitting the ball. But besides for that, I mean, he was terrible. He had 37 home runs and 100 RBIs this year. But you know what? I would bet you if you look back, I guarantee you half his home runs didn't mean anything.
But
That
that's
he
all.
was hitting home runs when it didn't count.
But that's all I ask of the Philadelphia fans.
Be honest, folks.
Let people voice their frustrations and don't judge them and just
Exactly.
totally
And if
void
somebody-
their fan card.
And if somebody
Right.
tells you,
But,
and if
but
somebody
the
tells you
thing
something,
the thing that gets me is I'm like Brad. This is why me and Brad get along so much. When I'm in a sports argument with someone, like people tell me all the time how good Corey Clement is. I don't get it. I
No,
think the
he
guy
stinks.
totally stinks.
listen, he was great in college. He was a real good running back in college, but
And
for
he
whatever
did great.
reason,
He caught lightning in a bottle,
something-
just like Nick Foles, and he was great in the playoffs last year, preferably
but
the
something
Super Bowl.
something has happened to him.
Do you know what my favorite question to ask when I disagree with someone on sports? What do you see that I don't? Not moron, idiot, bandwagon jumper,
Jump off the wall.
jumping off the wall, put it on
Uh.
Facebook Live. I think everyone knows who I'm talking about. The group of, I don't want to call them idiots because some of them are smart people.
Yeah.
But there's
The,
like
the ones that overreact. a
they
bit.
overcompensate
Yeah,
to make us look like not who we are,
they
which
get
is the
they get over
negative,
the top.
impatient, loudmouth Philadelphia fan base. I like who I am. I don't need to be changed. I don't need
Yep.
to be told that
See,
I'm
I would
not
fit.
a real.
I would fit very well into this fan. I would not fit well into this fan base because if I have a problem with one of my players, I call him out.
and that's fine.
And
That's what our job
and I'm gonna
is.
t- and I'm
Yeah,
gonna
our
tell
job, our job is to hold the athletes who make millions, sometimes billions of dollars, accountable
you. And
for
you've
what
heard,
happens
you,
on the field.
You have heard, I'm sure, and read my comments about Brian Cashman and how angry I am about
Well,
bringing back useless Brett Gardner and old fat CC Sabathia.
I'm always defending Brian Cashman, but he has made.
Why
some
are we
head,
spending
He has made some head scratchers.
$15 million? You're going to start with the salary cap bullcrap again, and you're spending $15 million on two crappy past their prime players. What the heck are you doing?
Just relax.
Relax.
If you're critical of
Yeah.
a team or a player, it doesn't void your fan card. You don't have to
Right.
be scared.
Does that mean I'm not a Yankee fan?
no,
'Cause I said that?
absolutely not.
Yeah, it's because we're passionate.
Like I feel like it's a big you know what measuring contest. Well,
Oh, yeah.
we're both Eagles fans, but man, you thought Carson Wentz wasn't that sharp against the Cowboys, and I thought he played great. That means I'm a bigger Carson Wentz fan than you and a bigger Eagles fan than you. No, we're all on the same team. There's no need to attack your own. It's like Eagle fan on Eagle fan crime. We don't need it. The team's got back against the wall. They look like complete dog crap. You stick together. You stick together.
We're gonna see.
You're allowed to be critical
We're gonna see
without having your fan
We're
card
gonna see
voided.
this week. We're gonna see how adversity affects the Eagles this
Well, the
week.
Eagles are going to get smoked this week.
Well, one thing though that you have to remember that might help this team is there's not going to be any pressure on them because everybody expects them to get smoked.
But
So
they're gonna
maybe,
but they're going to get smoked.
well, you know what? Maybe because there's no pressure on them.
Brad's
they
calling
can
the
play
upset.
loosey-
Are you calling the upset on Monday?
No, I'm just trying to give you a scenario where the Eagles could pull the upset.
I don't
okay?
see any scenario.
Maybe with the pressure off, okay, and the fact that they think that everybody has given up on them. Maybe they're going to have us against them mentality, and they're going to go in there and they're going to play their brains out, and they're going to have a real good game against the Saints. Maybe they can put up a good game plan, try to keep some pressure on Breeze, get the ball, keep the ball, and have
if
the ball.
the front four gets pressure against Drew Brees, it'll be the first time they got pressure since they played your lowly, stinky Giants.
Well, the problem is nobody seems to get any pressure on Drew Brees.
No, because like you pointed out, they have a great offensive line.
Yeah, that's the problem. But maybe. I mean, you never know.
Anyway,
Listen, the
Brad,
Buffalo
I'm starting
Bills.
to get excited because
Yeah.
we are about to take a break.
The Buffalo
Yes,
Bills.
we
are,
need to
gonna
take
be,
a break.
And you know what we're going to talk about?
What are we
after
talking
the
about?
break?
Yes!
Jimmy!
Jimmy!
Butler! Elton Brand pulling a rabbit out of the hat.
You bet.
Positivity on the other side. Sports Hounds, A2D Radio. We'll be back right after this.
You better re-sign him, buddy.
Hi, folks. Bob Mannery here. You're listening to A2D Radio, real sports talk radio for the fans, by the fans, no agenda. These guys are the best in the business. Hashtag it. No notes.
We're back in the Real Talk Studios. Final hour of the Sports Hounds. Brad Ryer, Frank the Tank Vesby producing. Brad, your Giants are in action right now. Do you have an update for us?
Yeah, they're down 10-7, but they are driving. They are now
They are
at San
driving.
Francisco 20.
What a-
Apparently, Eli has decided that he would include Barkley in the passing game, so they're starting to move the ball
All right.
now. So that's progress.
I mean, what a horrible game.
Oh, can you imagine?
It's like a triple whammy. Like you get 2 1-7 teams. And
Well, the
now there's
49ers have 2 wins.
or 2 unbearably unwatchable teams. Sorry, Brad.
They're 3 and what? 3 and
No,
14
the
together?
Giants are horrible.
The
He
Giants
knows
are
it. He
horrible. The
knows it.
Niners are horrible. Jimmy G is hurt. There's a bunch of crazy wildfires going on. Stanley
playing-
is dead,
And they're playing football.
and they're playing football.
Who's Stanley?
Stan Lee.
Oh, Stan Lee. Yes,
Yeah.
he did die today. Creator of Marvel.
Yes.
Pioneer in the comic book world.
Ron Johnson died this weekend.
Yeah.
One of my favorite
Crazy.
running backs growing up with the Giants back in the 70s. He was the first really good running back they had in God knows how long.
Yeah.
And you could thank the Cleveland Browns. Who else?
Who else but Cleveland?
Cleveland gave him to us for Homer Jones, who couldn't catch a ball if you handed it to him.
So now that we got those downer obituary,
Yeah.
the obituary segment out of the way,
Jeez.
let's talk about the process, baby.
Process
the
deploying.
process.
Is nearing completion. I think Elton
Very
Brand
close.
still has a few tricks up his sleeves.
You gonna bring in Corver now?
I don't know what they're going to do. But
Yeah.
what they did do already, effective today, was Jimmy Butler was acquired from the Minnesota Wolves.
Yes.
Not the T-Wolves
Not
anymore.
the T-Wolves.
No, they're just
The
the Wolves.
Wolves
Ooh.
for Dario Saric, Robert Covington, and a 20
Oh, and Jared
22.
Bayless.
Jared Bayless and
And a 2022.
So you have
The
to
guy
bring him
Patton.
up, don't you?
the guy Patton from Seton Hall.
Yeah,
comes
and
over
Justin
along
Patton
with
comes over,
it.
yeah.
But nobody cared.
Yeah.
Nobody.
Everybody wants Jimmy.
Jimmy.
Jimmy!
This is such an exciting.
Oh, yeah.
Because
Great time.
I saw the Sixers, being a little complacent, trying to figure it all out with the guy. But Elton Brand comes in, goes all in, 13 games into the season, says, no, we're not good enough, which he was absolutely correct. Goes out,
Agreeable.
gets Jimmy Butler, a top 20 player, a two-way player at that, to go along with the 2 top 20 players. the
He's also
Sixers-
a gritty, kind of has grit and a little bit of a mean streak as well.
Absolutely.
And the Sixers
The
needed
guy's a
that.
dog. He's just
Sixers-
a junkyard.
Yeah, no,
Go get it.
He's got an
dog.
edge. He's got an edge to him, and
Which-
I think the Sixers need a player with a little edge.
Like I love Simmons. I love his game, but he's not a junkyard dog
no,
from down under.
No.
Absolutely not.
Joel Embiid sometimes can be when he wants
Sometimes can be.
to be. But this guy plays.
you
with
need
an edge.
one of those guys on the wing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, this guy plays with an edge. He's an annoying player. He can get into your head, and he's going to drill a three, and he'll drill. He's got a good mid-range game too. I mean, he's the whole package. But the key to this trade is
Now you three
you got to
are,
resign it, but you got to resign him
Right.
for
they're
next
going to
year.
resign. Just
I
relax.
think they will
Just-
resign
I know
him.
you're rooting for him not to get re-signed, so you can make fun of the Philadelphia 76ers, and he maybe signs with your Knicks.
Well,
There's no
yeah,
way he's
Of course
gonna-
I am.
Or some other team.
Number one, the Sixers can offer the most money,
Yeah.
which is clearly important to Jimmy Butler because
That's important
the
to everybody.
And it's definitely important if you're a
And,
Sixers fan
you
as
know-
well. You have all that cap space.
Jimmy Butler wants a supermax.
All right. Which
That's
I think,
what it appears. That's what it
Yeah.
appears to me. Didn't look like the Wolves were ready to commit. They had Wiggins and Towns they gave a bunch of money to. You know, they want to do it. The Sixers can now offer him the most money. So at the very worst, it's going to be a sign and trade. That's the worst case scenario. Is he's going to ink the Supermax contract, and then the Sixers are going to trade him somewhere else in the offseason. That's the worst. In my opinion, that's the worst case scenario. Now, if you're Jimmy Butler, you're about to turn 30. This is going to be your last contract. Jimmy Butler, as good as he is, has won absolutely nothing in the NBA. Why would you not hitch your wagon to the star of Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid, two guys under 25 that have their best days ahead of them? Joe's already signed. Simmons, I mean, who knows what he's going to do. I'd like to think he'd re-sign with
Well,
a
I guess
triumvirate of
here's my
Butler,
question. What
Embiid.
happened? What happened in Minnesota?
I don't think he got along with the coach. I don't.
I know I'm asking because I don't
They
know.
weren't-
That's why I'm just wondering what was it that got him so mad that he demanded to get traded? 'Cause,
Tom Thibodeau is
but
you
they
know
got
you
ton-
know how
yeah.
you
Towns is a good player.
know how you hear about coaches. Oh, there's a players coach. Everyone loves playing for him. That's not Tibbs.
I've never heard that. No, not about him.
Tibbs is a hard nose. They practice hard every day. They don't get many off days.
And
you know-
defense, it's defense first with him too. He's one of those defensive-minded coaches.
That
and
is-
nobody,
that is absolutely
none of these
correct.
NBA players these days want to play defense. It's all
His
about.
act, because you remembered how good Derrick Rose was with the Bulls before he started getting hurt.
Yep.
A lot of people attribute that to how hard Tibbs grinds his players into the ground. Jimmy Butler, he missed 4 weeks last year, Frank, with some type of knee procedure, if memory serves me correct.
I believe so. Yes.
So Tibbs is
Yeah.
not the most player-friendly coach out there.
So he's not a real popular
And
guy.
the Wolves, the name escapes me. Can you look up the owner of the Wolves, Frank?
The
For
owner of the
whatever reason, it
T-Wolves.
just seems
The
also like
owner of
nobody wants to play on that
Wolves.
team.
That's because the owner is borderline incompetent. He really doesn't know what he's doing.
I mean, you look at it when they drafted Kevin Garnett. He had to go.
All right, that's not who
Marbury,
I'm
they
looking
got
for.
rid of him. I mean,
these are
it's just
years,
like every.
this is years.
Glenn
I know,
Taylor.
but this has been going on
Glenn
for a
Taylor,
long
that's
time
right.
with that franchise.
Nobody
though.
likes this guy, Glenn Taylor. They think he's a bad owner. He doesn't. He isn't. The players don't like.
But
playing for him either.
apparently, if you look it up on Google, it gives you Portland Trail Blazers player Zach Collins as the owner of the Minnesota
that's most
Timberwolves.
interesting. I think
Yeah.
you're having some
Well, the
technical
mo-
difficulties.
But hey,
Yeah, it's Google being weird, but
now you
I'll take
guys
it.
are all active on social media. I'm active on social media. I've yet to find a Sixers fan that's displeased with this trade.
He shouldn't be. He's a
Oh,
real
yeah.
good player.
I mean, I get it. I mean, Covington. I mean, good riddance on that one. I mean, shows flashes of brilliance, but
yeah,
my God, is
too
he
many.
My God, is he inconsistent?
Yeah.
And
I
you
mean,
know,
they don't. I mean, some fans in our YouTube chat they call him the mayor of Brick City for
He's earned
a
it.
reason. Yeah.
And then Dario's a good player, and I'm disappointed he's not going to be.
Yeah.
He's a good grit guy, good glue guy, good guy to have around. But you got to give to get. And the best part about it is you still have the Heat pick,
Yeah.
which is actually attractive on the trade market. This was the pick
It
that was
is.
supposed to lure Kawhi Leonard in that
Mhm.
package over the summer. So you still have that to make another trade,
Right.
which I do think the Sixers are going to make another trade.
I think they'll make
They have
another trade.
They have a glaring hole at power forward, Brad.
Yeah.
Muscala or Amir Johnson is going to start next to Joel Embiid at power forward,
Yeah,
with, I
that's-
would assume-
that's not going to cut it.
which is what I would assume be.
Let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
Guy just got traded from the Clippers to the Pistons, Mr. Blake Griffin.
Blake Griffin is on the hook for a lot of money. The
Yeah.
Pistons are stuck with him.
Okay, I just was wondering is
No.
that not a
The Pistons are good. They have the Dwayne Casey, the coach of the Raptors. Like the Pistons
are they going to stay good this season? You think they're going to stay up there, or you think they're going to
yeah,
fall
they have
back?
an unbelievable front court. Yes, the Pistons are a playoff team in the Eastern Conference.
What about it?
Frank,
like
can
Kevin Love?
You can get this. Look up the standings.
What about a guy
Kevin
like,
Love is out for a month, so
Yeah.
he's hurt.
All right, so let's see.
Okay, but he will be back, right?
Right, and I don't want Kevin Love.
You don't want Kevin Love.
I don't want.
Okay.
I don't want him either.
They've been linked to Corver. Stephen A. Smith.
I've seen a lot of stuff about Corver.
Well, Cleveland's open for business.
All right,
J.R.
so,
Smith won't
yeah.
finish the season.
They
there.
are definitely
Corver.
open for
You
business.
don't
They
want
are
J.R.
1-11
Smith,
for the
though.
year so
1-11.
far.
J.R. Smith's a weirdo. You don't want him.
Yeah.
I'd welcome him here, actually. As weird as that sounds. To come off the bench, be able to be athletic and shoot.
But I don't know if he's going to know that
I
we
would
have the lead, though.
That's true. Let me put it this way. I would welcome his skill set to the Sixers.
Well, why wouldn't you welcome Carmelo's then?
I don't want Carmelo.
He can still rebound.
If this was Melo from like 7 years ago, I'd be fine with it. But he's past his prime.
If Chris Sheridan's, I think Melo is a very real possibility.
It is a real possibility.
I
want to be a fan of it, though.
The Rockets have reportedly told Carmelo Anthony that his time with the team is coming to an end and that he will be waived, and that the Sixers, among other teams, according to Chris Sheridan, will have a claim in for Carmelo Anthony. So that's interesting.
I have a feeling
That'd
he's
be
going to.
interesting.
I have a feeling he's going to end up in Brooklyn.
I'm somewhat intrigued.
I am intrigued. I am intrigued as
I mean,
well.
his
would
kids,
I? Would I be?
His kids are still there.
I mean,
and,
Brooklyn
wouldn't be
doesn't make any
wowed.
sense for Carmelo Anthony.
well, it does for
Carmelo
his family.
Anthony's going to want to get a ring. I mean, Philadelphia, Brooklyn. What's the difference?
But his family's in New York. That's all I'm.
Okay, Brad. It's
Yeah.
Yeah, listen, some guys, but
Hops.
some guys don't care about winning though. I don't know that he's
you
worried
gotta
about
think,
winning anymore.
You got to think. Why did he go to the Rockets then for a nothing deal?
well.
I think he wanted to get in the chase for a ring, basically. Join with a guy like James Harden and Chris Paul, Clint Capella on the rise. I think joining that kind of tandem would probably get Melo to finally play in an NBA Finals.
But he couldn't
just
keep
couldn't
it
do it.
together. He
Well,
just couldn't keep it together. Yeah, his
the
game
problem
has
with
obviously fallen
the
to a
problem
level now where
with-
he can't do it.
The problem with James Harden, Chris Paul, and Carmelo Anthony on the same team is that there's only one basketball.
No,
They
that's
all want the
absolutely
ball.
Right.
Chris Paul is a good point guard, even though I can't stand Chris Paul. I think he's such a dirty, stinking, rotten mutt. He'll never win anything in this league. And James Harden is obviously an unbelievable talent. And then you have Melo, who he swallows the basketball. He gets the ball and
he's
shoots
the
it.
black. He is the black hole. I would agree with you.
He swallows it up.
He's a ball stopper. Yeah, no, you give him
He's
the
an
ball,
ISO
the ball's
player.
not moving. So
and he can't shoot the three ball well enough to fit in with the Rockets and D'Antoni's
No.
style.
No.
We saw D'Antoni
He didn't get- he
here.
didn't get- listen-
You saw D'Antoni in New York.
he
we both
didn't
know
get
how
along
he
with
plays
D'Antoni, but he didn't get along with
That's
D'Antoni
right.
when he
went
was
in
with
the Knicks.
the Knicks.
Made
So
no sense.
yeah, that was bizarre because those were two guys that couldn't
Well,
stand
he's buddies
each
with
other.
Chris Paul, and I bet you Chris Paul was in.
He must have been because
somebody's ear.
D'Antoni
Okay.
D'Antoni couldn't stand him, and he couldn't stand D'Antoni either. So that was a
I'm gonna try
strange
and remain.
situation.
On the surface, I don't like Carmelo Anthony to the Sixers at all.
I don't know. I'm not gonna be like, wow, we got Carmelo. It's like, oh, it's just another piece. Yeah, I think he still has. I mean, he is a talented player. He's past his prime, but it's like.
yeah.
what-
But if you
what are
give him
gonna-
10 to 15 minutes, do you think he could
if
score?
you give
he
him a
could-
reasonable role, though, like I know he probably wants to go after that starting lineup, but at the
That's
same
not gonna
time,
happen.
it's not going to happen. So he would probably come off the bench. At
But
best.
I think he'd be a very productive player.
Are there any
would be
comments? Are there any comments, Frank?
We got Deion Brown bringing up about the notion of Kyle Korver. He says he'll bring in Kyle Korver. Why not? He can still hit the three and give you some defense. Also, he'll give you 16-plus points if he is
Okay, well,
hot.
Kyle Korver's giving you no defense, Dan. Love you. Great.
Gives you points.
love your comments. You
And he's one of those guys.
Fantastic sports IQ, but Kyle Korver gives you no defense.
If he misses his first shot too, also he's one of those guys that'll shoot you into and out of a basketball.
Well, I
game,
like
so.
Kyle. I like him. I never knew
I like
why
him
we.
too.
I never knew why we traded him to Utah in the first place. Like that was one move that
he was
really
the
baffled
Sixers'
me.
second best player, and they had to switch it up. It was just not
Like
going.
we traded him for a future first round draft pick, which I think we traded that one if I remember correctly. And Gordon Giricek, remember him?
No,
Me neither.
Who is he?
A Croatian guy who
What are your guys' thoughts on Stephen A. Smith on his radio show this morning saying he is 99% certain that Markelle Fultz will be traded soon?
That's
I'd be surprised, but at the same time, we'd be like,
What do you think?
if he thinks that, I would think that that's probably.
Hey,
he's
yeah, if
probably
he
gonna
says
be
it, it's
right
probably
on.
As much as
true.
I can't stand Stephen A. Smith, he knows what he's doing in terms of the NBA. He has his
pretty
sources,
he's the NBA
and
guy.
he's an old school journalist. So he's not going to report fake news or clickbait or
Right.
any type of nonsense like that. So if he's saying that on his radio show, based out of New York, the biggest media market in the country, there's got to be some merit to it. I would be interested to know how long it will take them to trade and what they're going to get back for a player like Markelle Fultz, who clearly has not lived up to his first overall pick.
Like, I'm just trying to figure out where exactly would be the best fit for
But
him.
I'm open to trading Fultz to see what I can get. If I'm not just throwing Fultz away,
Right.
but if I can get a player who's youngish,
Right.
he doesn't have to be as young as Fultz, that fits better with Butler, Simmons, Embiid, I'm all for it.
Right.
Because to me, having a first overall pick leading your second unit, I don't know. That just leaves
a lot of question marks.
I don't like that. I don't like the optics of that, to use the word that I used in terms of Carson Wentz's performance in the first half of the show.
Right.
I don't like that. So, if I can get a role player starting power forward for Markelle Fultz, I think I'm pulling the trigger on that trade. If I can trade Markelle Fultz and the Miami Heat pick, what is it, 2021?
The 2021 pick.
To the Wizards for one of the players that they're talking about trading. Who were they? It was Markieff Morris.
Markieff.
Kelly Oubre.
Oh, so Washington then. All right.
I believe Zach Lowe had this on Twitter this afternoon. It was Oubre. It was Morris.
Morris.
It wasn't.
Morris is a good player.
It wasn't
though. I
Wall
mean,
or Beal or Otto Porter.
Yeah, but if you really want
Jordan
to get an impact,
Read me
All right.
the
guys to get.
All right.
Wizards
so
roster.
here's the current roster: Bradley Beal, Troy Brown, Thomas Bryant, Jeff Green, Dwight
Jeff
Howard.
Green, that was it.
Jeff Green?
Jeff Green.
Hmm.
But Jeff Green's too old for me to give.
Jeff
up
Green's
Green
been around a long
Yeah,
time.
Jeff Green is 30.
That's it.
Yeah, born in '86.
Well, he seems to be around forever,
Or-
though.
Seems like he's
Oh,
been
32. Excuse me.
Oh, okay, that
Dw-
sounds maybe a little more like
Let's
it.
see: Dwight Howard, Ian Mahinmi, Jordan McRae, Markieff Morris, Kelly Oubre, Otto Porter, Chasson Randall.
What are
Austin
Kelly
Rivers.
Oubre's measurables?
In terms of
Like his height, his weight, his
6'7", 205 forward.
That's kind of like a small. That's a 3.
He's
not a
he's
4.
he's a small forward. And then Markieff, not Marcus, Markieff, 6'10", 245 power forward.
Yeah, but he's not as good as his brother on the Celtics. I don't know what Elton Brand. I give Elton Brand a roaring round of applause.
Yeah.
13 games in, recognizing your team's flawed and going to get the
Oh, yeah,
best
I love it.
available player on the trade market.
No,
He
that
deserves
was
a
a-
lot of credit.
He does.
Definitely.
Because a lot of people really buried this GM
Oh yeah,
appointment.
they did. I mean, I wasn't a big fan of it at first, but then as I realized, wait a second, Elton Brand being a former player, at least a very
He went to Duke.
he went to Duke, a smart guy. He's a smart guy, smart player. I mean, even though his time in Philadelphia wasn't the best to my memory,
He was
Well, he
over.
tore
He
his
was past
Achilles.
his
Yeah,
prime.
he got hurt most of the time, but
He tore his Achilles as a power forward, man. I mean,
yeah, and he developed under the system with Brett Brown. He was, I believe, he was like a GM when he was with
his
with the
last
Delaware
job
team
was the GM
with
the
Delaware.
Generals or the 87ers.
The
or
87s
whatever
now
the heck
now
they're-
the blue
the
coats,
blue hens, the blue
Yeah.
coat, whatever they're called. down
blue
there in
hens,
Delaware.
blue coats, blue whatevers.
And the
was
fact that I'm hearing that they're in the mix for these Wizards guys, who the Wizards are absolutely horrible this season.
Yeah,
That he's in the mix on Corver, it seems like. I mean, who knows? I mean, now that you have Butler, Simmons, and Embiid, you can let them try and mesh. You can give Fultz a chance to mesh with them. Then if it's not working out at the trade deadline, then you can make a trade to make a run at Milwaukee, Toronto, or Boston, or all three, or whoever.
right.
But that's a lot of credit. I give him a lot of credit. Give it
Oh.
up.
He did a good job.
Give it
Oh,
up.
that happened. Okay,
What happened, Frank?
I just need to verify it real quick. Something about the.
Have you outed the burner accounts?
Oh,
What
it is
happened?
true. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness.
Are you gonna? Do we have something?
I do have something, but it does not involve our Philadelphia 76ers.
That's
though.
all right. Breaking news is breaking
But it
news.
is an NFL worthy moment. So let's play that silly schmaz.
Breaking news into the Sports Hounds.
The Buffalo Bills have released the Peterman.
Oh boy.
That
Gee,
has
could he be the future quarterback of the Giants?
the urban sombrero.
The urban sombrero.
Nathan
The
J. Peterman.
J.
the worst
Peterman.
quarterback in the history of the
My
NFL.
God.
Oh, boy, he
Boy.
was brutal.
He was bad.
That was like.
I mean,
It
I don't
was
like to
too
make
late.
fun. I don't like to make fun of people's misfortunes.
But he was.
Not really.
He was terrible.
He was the worst quarterback.
He made Jamarcus Russell look like Joe Montana. That's how bad he was.
He was. Yeah.
Do you
he
remember
was,
the game they put
he
in?
was
They put
really
him in
bad.
last year, and he threw 5
Yeah.
picks in the first
in
half.
the first half.
It
Yeah.
baffles me. Like after 5 interceptions, be like, you should cut him, and then it's like, oh, you pick up AJ McCarron and you have Josh Allen. It's like, all right,
And then they traded AJ.
then you
McCarron.
trade McCarron to start Peterman,
They're struggling,
and then
and that's a shame though, because I think
Jeez.
Sean McDermott's actually
and
a
then
half decent.
and then
coach.
journeyman
You know
Matt
what?
Barkley.
That team. That
lights it
team
up.
is not that bad. It's just they're having bad play from their quarterback.
Yeah,
you gotta have a quarterback.
Yeah. No, that's the issue.
Well,
mean,
Allen is hopefully.
and he was playing hurt too. I mean, with Allen.
Allen is the quarterback of the future.
Oh,
Hopefully,
yeah.
there.
I mean, I
just don't
still
think
love the pick
they
of
didn't-
Josh Allen.
They didn't do themselves any favors though, cutting Tyrod Taylor.
Yeah.
The Sixers are in action right now, correct?
That is true.
What's the score, Frank?
The score
Another short
right
bench.
now?
Jimmy Butler will make his debut on Wednesday. His first home game will be Friday at home against the Utah Jazz. His debut Wednesday
against the Magic.
against the Orlando Magic. Sixers are in action at the Miami Heat right
Let's
now.
see.
Another short bench.
It is right now. The score is 101-98, 9:38 left in the fourth. Sixers lead it.
What's Embiid got?
I do not have the box score on me. I will look at it right now. No, I am not looking for the Sox.
Who did I pick to win the NBA MVP? Do you guys
Did
remember?
you say Joel?
Oh, man.
I think you said Joel.
That
All
was
right.
a good pick.
Holy moly. Okay, here we go. Joel Embiid, 31 points, 14 rebounds, 3 assists. Ben Simmons, 7, 6, and 6. JJ's got 20.
Wait. So Embiid's got 31 points,
No,
14
now
rebounds.
32 points, 14 rebounds, 3 assists.
And what's his
30 minutes.
No, I meant like his how many shots has he taken? How many shots has he made?
That I do not have. I just have it on the
Okay.
Google.
That's fine. 7 said. What about Markel?
Markel had, I know he's all single digits. 5 points, 2 rebounds, 6 assists.
That's such a mad game.
Yeah.
See, I don't understand.
And Mike
'Cause Sixers
Muscala
fans-
is close to a double-double. He's got 10
I like
points,
Mike. I like Mike
10
Muscala.
points, 8 rebounds.
I don't like Mike Muscala starting at power forward, but I like Mike Muscala. That was a great find. Who
All right.
found him, Frank?
Wasn't it Brett Brown? I think it was a Brett Brown.
Was it EB or
It was
Brett Brown?
it was a BB. It was
BB, not EB.
It was BB before EB.
All right.
Because I remember it was part of that star hunting stuff, and then they got Muscala. It was like because
Hey.
it was part of the Dennis Schroeder trade.
That's
going in.
right. The Sixers snuck in. Well, I was a good. They snuck in and swooped in and got him. I like.
See, I was hoping we would have got Schroeder because I always wanted to see Schroeder in a Sixers uniform.
Yeah, but
But-
he doesn't do
Yeah.
anything for me. He's super inefficient. He turns the ball over a lot. He shoots bad field goal percentage. Never really been a fan. But that's me. Maybe he would have fit here. I don't know. He's on the Thunder now. Anyway,
let's see.
where were we? Yeah, I like Mike Muscala, just not as a starting power forward. I like him coming off the bench.
Ooh.
The Sixers are ahead 104-98,
Wow. All right.
8:57 to play in the fourth quarter.
All right. So Joel Embiid went 7 for 13 in field goals, 2 for 3 from the 3-point, 16 for 20 from the free throw
It's
line.
unbelievable that he's 7'2"
And can shoot a
shoots
three.
85% from foul line.
Yeah.
And Ben
That's-
Simmons is a point guard and he shoots 61%
Yeah.
from the line.
Let's see.
Some
What's
guys-
oh
some
Ben,
guys
Ben
for
went
whatever
75
reason.
for today on the
What do you
charity
got,
strike.
3 for 4.
Bingo.
By the way, I have to make a statement because I may not ever be able to make this statement again for the rest of the season.
Yeah.
The New York Rangers tonight defeated the Vancouver Canucks 2-1 at the Garden.
Oh, they're wearing those sweet uniforms, Miami.
The Rangers are now tied for first place in the Metropolitan
Vice
Division.
night.
How about the Flyers, man? I go on my little tirade,
Yeah.
and they go 5-0-1.
They
shut
are-
out the Blackhawks on Saturday.
The Blackhawks, as we know, are a pathetic hockey team.
Right.
They just fired Quenneville.
2 points, bruh.
They are actually in third place right now, 1 point behind the first place Blue Jackets and Rangers. Boy, that division, I'll tell you what, everybody in that division is like 2 games over 500. It's bizarre. There's there's complete parity right now in the Metro.
Well, there's usually parity. There's usually parity all the way around in hockey because of the hard cap.
Well, to have a division like this right now, where everybody is basically in the same boat, that's a bit much. The Lightning are right now, and the Toronto Maple Leafs are look like the class of the East right now. So I would have to say they're looking pretty darn good. But I'm shocked with the Rangers. I mean, pleasantly surprised, shocked, because I was expecting a real bad season. And
A lot of the national experts were.
yeah, they were
Pretty the same.
listed as they had a 5% chance of making the playoffs, and they still probably won't. But I mean, you got to be very encouraged at the fact that they're going with a lot of young players, and somehow they've now won 6 of their last 7, and the one game that they lost was a overtime loss. So I mean, they've got points now in 7 straight, and in the last 14 possible points they could get, they've gotten 13. So I mean, kudos to them. That's good stuff for them. Hopefully they can make this season interesting, because we know the Knicks are going to be a
Right. Anything
basket
cooking
case.
on YouTube?
Over on the YouTube. Oh, hi, Rosca.
Rosca's in the house.
Rosca's in the house.
What's he saying?
He's talking about Jimmy Butler, and then he's calling me out saying that the Rams rock. Apparently, we know Rosca. The Rams are.
You don't like the Rams, Frank?
I don't have a problem with the Rams.
Why is he calling you out? Then?
I don't know.
Because you had the nerve to pick the Saints this year.
Oh, that's probably why.
Yeah, probably.
All right.
But listen.
I think the only other time like you would bring me up in discussion is like whenever they talk about the Sharks, and I absolutely cannot stand the San Jose Sharks. If you know my little comments on the
why they're
I just
Why?
it's just one of those teams I can't stand.
Hate who you want to hate. I don't care. I
There's
like
just-
a good hate. I
there's
like
just
a good
something-
hatred for no reason. But the Sharks, such a San Jose, it's such an innocuous team. To hate.
I know it's
Why?
so innocuous, but the fun.
I can understand if you didn't like Anaheim. They're one of the dirtiest teams
I
in
mean,
the league.
It also comes from my
But-
hatred of Joe Thornton because
Why do you hate Joe? Well, he was a Bruin. That would explain.
I mean,
yeah,
it,
I can
it was
understand that.
it was how he
why I
it was
don't
how
care
he
about
left
Joe Thornton.
Boston rubbed me off the wrong way. Like
Why?
Yeah, but he left Boston. That's a
Yeah.
credit for him.
I mean,
Yeah.
good. I mean, good
That's-
for
I agree
good
with
for the
that.
New York fan, but
Well,
I just
like
never
Boston
really
either.
I just
That's a
never
feather
really
in
like
his- that's a feather in his cap that he had the brains to get out of
I
that
just
slime
never
ball city.
I just don't like Joe Thornton. And then even with the Sharks, like I want to root for them because they haven't won the Stanley Cup, but every time I expect like they have a good season, they always disappoint.
Brad, who's a player you hate for no reason? Like, he's not on a rival. He's not.
Oh, there's so many of them.
Who's your?
Oh,
who's
for no
your-
reason, Crosby,
But
Phil
that's
Kessel.
No,
Phil,
but that's a rival though.
Phil Kessel. Well, okay. So I'm not allowed
Someone like Frank. He hates
Like,
the he hates
I hate the
Sharks
Sharks and I can't stand Joe
for no
Thornton.
reason, and he hates Joe
Oh,
Thornton for no
jeez,
reason.
I mean, a team that I absolutely hate for no reason.
A player. I want a player.
Oh, a player that I can't. I can't stand Austin Matthews
Why?
Why?
because he's a douchebag on the Maple Leafs, and I can't stand the Maple Leafs.
Why don't you like the Maple Leafs?
Because their fans are just such assholes.
Why?
Oh,
why?
no.
Oh,
Really?
And I thought you were going to be the one paying all the money.
$2 from Brad.
Me too.
Wow.
You
We're
know,
gonna give them money. We're gonna give them money.
The Toronto Maple Leaf fans are some of the most arrogant little. I can't say that word, but they're just,
Is it
For a
is
team
it
that
a word
hasn't
that
won-
also describes a cactus?
yes.
All right,
Yes.
got
yes. Yes. They're like the little stickers on a cactus.
Yes.
Yeah.
They're very
They
prickly.
have not. Yes. They have not won a Stanley Cup since I believe 1965,
68
or is it 67?
or 67? Yeah.
60. They haven't won the Cup since 67, and the way they talk, you'd think that it is their intended gift
Yeah.
to win the Cup. The Montreal Canadiens, I'll tell you one player I hated
Whoa.
Whoa.
was Guy
Why?
Lafleur.
Why? Why?
The
did they-
flower.
PK Subban.
PK.
Oh, can't stand him.
I like him.
He's
I
a-
like PK.
I
He's
thought
a,
he was on
He's
the-
a filthy little piece of garbage.
What? I thought he was on the Predators.
He is. He was on the Canadiens for a long, long
Yeah, I
time.
remember.
Yeah, Max.
Mine's-
but
Max
he's such a good dude off the ice. PK, like very charitable guy.
Max Pacioretty is another one I can't
Pacioretty.
stand.
I hate Chris Paul.
Mr. Elbow.
I can't stand
Yeah.
Chris Paul.
So,
I
okay,
think.
so-
How are you going to give the Rockets 0 minutes at home in Game 7 of the Western Conference Finals?
Yeah, exactly.
It baffles my mind. If he plays 15 minutes, 10 minutes in that game, the Rockets go to the finals and LeBron wins another championship and probably either retires or stays in Cleveland or maybe comes to Philly. That's all.
Right.
10 minutes. He's never won anything in his life.
Yeah.
Another player I can't stand.
He's
Is this,
such a punk.
am I allowed to
He
use
just
this guy?
he
Tavares.
I mean, I don't have a problem
I don't
with
care.
Am I allowed to use him?
it. You can use him.
It's your list.
He
not
played.
mine.
He played for
Yeah.
the Islanders, though. I mean,
I
I
know.
can't stand the Islanders.
I know you can't stand the
That's
Islanders.
all right. Well, Brad, you got a lot of
Scott
hate. You got a
Stevens.
lot of hate in there, man. Scott Stevens.
Can't
Oh, yeah.
stand him.
Oh man.
Don't
Can't
bring up
stand
Scott
him.
Stevens' name on the hockey happy hour.
Can't
they
stand
can't
him.
stand. They
Can't
they
stand
hate
him.
Scott Stevens with a passion.
Yeah.
Well, except for the resident Penguins fan on that show.
I
but-
was pretty sure that I was
Filthy
a little kid.
Filthy little dirtbag.
I thought he killed Eric Lindros.
Oh yeah.
He did.
In a way, he did. He mentally killed him. But
Oh,
I
with
thought
that hit,
when
that hit ruined that,
Oh,
killed
yeah.
his
that
career.
team was so loaded. That Flyers team was so loaded. Frank.
Exactly. The Legion
The
of Doom.
no, that was '97.
Oh, the Are we talking about the Carolina, the
The-
run against before we got stalwart against?
No, they lost games. They blew the 3-1 lead to the Devils.
Oh, that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Now
Elias scored with
Patrick Elias. Yeah.
with
oh,
4
I
minutes to
I
go.
cried myself to sleep as a
And
young,
when
as a young
Claude
kid
when
on
Claude Lemieux scored a goal from 57 feet out against Hextall and he
Right.
fanned on it. Yeah, there's a guy I
No,
couldn't.
it's
There's a guy I couldn't stand when he
2003.
was playing was Hextall. He was
that.
another one.
Hextall?
Hextall, Billy Smith.
Mm.
But these are all rivals. I mean,
Yeah.
I had to have a reason to really hate some. Although I hated everybody on the Canadians.
The Flyers were so loaded that year.
Yeah.
They had Leclerc and Desjardins and
What
Lindros.
wasn't Robert Esch the goalie that year, or something?
No,
Yes.
we had Brian Boucher.
Boosh.
Oh, in 2010, you mean?
No, in 01.
Oh,
The
in
01.
01. Ash, that was Ash and
No. It was
I know Esch was on one of those
the
playoff teams.
Bouchinator.
Was it Boosh?
I'm fairly certain.
So the two Flyers.
back then.
It was 01. It was either 2000 or 2001.
All right. I'm
They
gonna
lost
look.
to the
They had
Devils.
Keith Primo back then too, didn't they?
Let's see.
I don't
did
know if he was
we-
here yet.
Was he?
He might have been with the
He
Hurricanes
may have still been
still.
with. Yeah. Okay.
Can you bring up that roster, Frank, in the last few minutes here?
Yeah.
The 01 Flyers were
01.
loaded.
All right. So
Oh, they had
I was
some-
looking at it. It was not
They
the
had some
one.
good players back then. Let's see.
All right. Let
My
me see the
phone's
playoff
dead.
run.
The internet doesn't work. I'm useless, except for my mouth. You
Uh,
guys ain't gonna
playoff.
help me out. You
Well,
gotta pick
you-
me up
you
on
do
the
okay with
technology
that.
All
part.
right. Let me go to 2099.
Eric Desjardins. Yeah, they did have Keith. They had Keith Primo.
Is that it? You
Yeah.
have the right one?
Yeah, 2001, 2002 Philadelphia Flyers.
You sure that's the one that lost to the Devils in Game 7?
I'm pretty
Or
sure.
was it 02, 03?
No.
First in the Atlantic?
They had they were the best team by far in the regular season. They
The
won. What's the
Atlantic.
trophy? What's that trophy's
The
called?
They had
Presidents.
Simon Gagne, Jeremy Roenick, Todd Fedoruk was their tough guy. Roman Chechmanek was their goalie.
No.
Well, you want me to look up 2000, 2001?
Yeah,
Maybe it
I'm
was-
I'm looking at
Yeah.
the I have the Tampa Bay Lightning.
That was 04. That was
04,
another loaded
yeah.
team. That's when they got Monty and Roenick and Primo and Gagne was in his
That
prime.
team
That team
also
was
won.
loaded,
They
too.
also won the Stanley Cup that year.
Who?
The
Lightning did.
the Lightning, yeah.
Yeah, the Flyers lost Game 7 in Tampa.
I'll tell you what,
sucked, too.
that 2000 team was one hell of a team. They had Recchi, Primo, Simon Gagne.
So
had
they did have
Lankow.
Primo.
Yep.
Two-
Desjardins.
2000. All right,
Damon
found
Lankow.
it.
Desjardins, Fedotenko. They had they still had Rick
99,
Tocchet.
2000.
Ruslan.
Yeah, Justin Williams was just coming up back then.
Wow.
They had some good players on their team.
Was
They're,
Todd Fedoruk on that team?
Boosh and Van Bees.
yeah,
The Beezer.
The
Bush,
Beezer.
they had
These
Bush
are-
and Chechmanek. Roman Chechmanek was the starting goalie.
Roman Czechmanek. Remember Roman Czechmanek?
Yep.
Wow.
He would always save the puck off his head.
Well, they had Gino Ojic that year. I
Wow.
forgot about him. He was a tough guy, boy. He was
Rod
as
the Bod,
nasty. He was as nasty a
Tocchet.
player as
Wow.
you're ever going to see.
I can't believe none of those
Wolf.
Flyers teams in the early 2000s didn't win the cup.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They
I mean,
let
you
a couple
you
really
look
good
at
teams get away.
you look at this team. There's three possible Hall of Famers on this
Oh,
team.
yeah.
Mark Recchi,
Mark Recchi is in the Hall of Fame.
Keith Primo, and possibly Rick Tocchet.
Mm.
He's definitely has a shot.
Didn't he get arrested for gambling?
Yeah, well, he's a schmuck, but that doesn't take away the fact that he was a great player.
Yeah, Lawrence Taylor's in the Football Hall of Fame. So
Yes,
you're
he
right
is.
about
And
that one.
LT had a lot of issues, but boy, he was a great player too.
And
Let's
then
see.
they won't let Pete Rose in the Baseball Hall of Fame.
Oh, because God forbid he gambled. Yeah, Fedotenko was on that team. You're right.
Well,
Ruslan
Fedoruk, was
Fedotenko.
Todd Fedoruk on that team?
Todd Fedoruk was on that team too. 5 goals, 5 assists, 109 penalty minutes.
Caddied for him once.
Really?
Twice, actually, Todd Fedoruk.
They even had Kevin Stevens right at the end of his career,
Wow.
but he was pretty much done
Fridge,
by then.
Todd Fedoruk, the Fridge.
Wow.
You're right. They were loaded that year. But for whatever reason, something always seemed to happen to them. I guess the Devils happened to them
Well,
back
Scott
then.
Stevens happened because of the
Yeah.
cheap shot, and then Patrick Elias scored with like a
Scott
minute
Gomez,
left.
another player I can't stand.
Oh, Scott Gomez. You know, I love Scott Gomez for one reason. The Rangers were able to trade him for
Yeah.
Ryan McDonough.
Jeez.
One of
They
the
were
most
good team,
lopsided
too.
trades in
Wow.
the history of the NHL.
Wow.
But yeah, there's plenty of hate to go around. I mean,
Yeah. John Madden.
Can anybody tell me that if they're not Boston Bruin fans, can anybody tell me that they like Brad Marchand?
I mean, that's probably why.
I kind of like Brad Marchand.
Oh, he is really.
I like players who, if they were on
Yeah,
your team.
Roska
Oh,
even
God, if he-
chimes in about Scott Stevens, saying Scott Stevens sucks. That cup belongs to Anaheim. I agree.
Well, you couldn't win
I
win a
agree.
damn game on the road that year. That was your problem. They lost every game in New Jersey.
Yeah, and he knocked out Paul Correa that series.
Yeah, he knocked out a lot of guys. He
Korea and Solani.
Yeah, he was
man, what a duo.
Mighty Correa.
Yep.
Paul Correa's the best Correa. You know what they say. Forget North, forget South. It's Paul. Paul Correa.
Paul was a great player, but Tino Solani,
Oh, yeah.
boy, he scored a lot of goals.
That was the one team I always, especially that series, I wanted the Ducks to win that series
Well, the
so
Ducks
bad.
did win a Stanley Cup.
They did win, but when they were the Anaheim Mighty, when they were the Mighty Ducks, that's when it was like, oh, the cartoon series hockey team, they're going to win. Like the 90s kid in me wanted them to win, but they
Yeah,
didn't
when
win.
When they just became the Ducks, that's
Yeah,
when
then it's like.
But you know what? They were threatening for a long time to win, and then they
Yeah.
finally
They got
finally
it.
did.
But of course, they dropped the Mighty, and then
Yeah, but they had a good team,
they had a good team. Though.
and they had Scott Niedermayer. Remember him?
Yep.
The Devils foolishly traded him to Anaheim. Boy, that was dumb. That was one of their dumb moves.
Chris Pronger was on that team. Who else was on
and then
there?
Chris Pronger went to Edmonton,
Yeah.
and Edmonton almost won the Stanley Cup in I think 2003. I think they lost to who did they lose to? Detroit,
Carolina.
Carolina. Oh, they lost to Carolina, right?
Yeah.
Right. No, I thought Calgary lost to Carolina.
That was Tampa Bay that beat Calgary.
Okay, Tampa Bay beat Calgary, and Carolina beat Edmonton.
Yeah.
But Edmonton had come back. That was the year they had Pronger for 1 year. And then unfortunately they couldn't afford him, and then he ended up signing with the Flyers. And to be honest with you, the Flyers still have not been able to effectively replace that guy. Because in my opinion, that was the guy that everybody was afraid of. Because he was like their Scott Stevens. Wasn't as dirty a player, but he was always you never knew if he
Who's the biggest
in a
goon
bad
in the
mood.
NHL, Brad?
Ooh.
Right now?
Yeah,
Oh, Marchand, without a doubt.
that's what I thought.
Oh, it's not.
Wow.
Frank, I ask you, is there any bigger goon in the league right now than Brad Marchand?
It's definitely Marchand.
I mean, this guy gets under people's nerves,
Oh, yeah.
licking people. I mean, he licks you. He pulls. There's nothing that guy doesn't do to annoy. And you know what was great the other day.
You would love him. You would love him if he was on the Rangers.
Well, listen, I like Sean Avery. That's
Oh,
all you need to know. And
jeez.
Sean Avery was.
I love players who.
I love
If
goons.
they're against you.
Yeah, if they're on your team, it's great. And like
That's
Ken Linsman when he was on the Flyers.
Mhm.
You remember how he used to drive everybody nuts with that stick of his? I mean, he used to make guys insane with the sneaky
All right.
crap.
I think I can one up you. Chris Nyland.
Yeah, but he could fight too.
He could fight. Biggest pest that I've ever. Well, I mean, I wasn't alive when Nyland was at his
he was-
prime.
Oh,
but
he was
one of
a
the
beast.
favorite videos I've ever seen on, especially with hockey fights. It was just simply titled "Chris Nyland's Night of Fun."
Oh,
It basically says everything about how big of a pest he was.
he was. Yeah, Knuckles Nyland was. And he used to beat up everybody.
Oh yeah.
I mean, he finally. The only time I can ever remember him really getting beat up badly was Barry Beck. He went and took a cheap shot at Barry Beck, and Barry Beck was about 6'5" and
Yeah.
weighed about 230 pounds. He was a defenseman for the Rangers, and nobody, he was one of these guys that he would never fight, he's like a
Right.
gentle giant, but if you got him mad, forget it. I mean, he'd kill you. And I mean, he took Chris Nyland basically and got him in a headlock and just started pounding away. And Nyland never started with him again. But Nyland went after everybody. I mean, I remember he beat up Dave Brown.
Oh yeah.
I mean, he was a guy. He never lost. I don't think he ever would lose a fight. He was unbelievable, and he wasn't that big a guy either. You know, and then you had Clark Gillies. He was another one. He was a guy that would go out there, score a lot of goals, and then you know, if somebody was getting a little too rambunctious, he would beat them up just to prove a point. Yeah, Terry O'Reilly, remember him?
Don't remember Terry O'Reilly.
Used to play for the Bruins. Was one hell of a player.
Yeah.
When he came up, he was the biggest goon maybe in the history of the NHL because all he used to do was fight, and then all of a sudden he realized that he had some talent and started scoring goals. So it was then. I mean, he's the kind of guy you would love to have him on your team because the closest guy that I could come up with as a comparison was the guy that used to play in the Flames, the big black guy that used to score 1 million goals. I can't remember his name now.
Oh, I know who you're talking about. Oh, Jerome McGinley?
Jerome McGinley. Mm-hmm.
Love McGinley.
Very, very, very similar type. They were the same player, O'Reilly and McGinley. I think McGinley scored more goals than O'Reilly, but they were the same kind of player. I mean, they weren't happy unless they scored and then beat somebody up. It's a shame McGinley never got a chance to play to play on a team, you know, in the United States where people could actually watch him play. So, how are we doing with the Giants tonight?
Brad, I don't give a flying fart about your New York Giants right now.
Well, maybe they can win one stinking football
All right,
game.
let's figure it out. All right.
One.
Is it 10-10? I'm a big Nick
It
Mullins
was 13
fan. What's his name?
it
Nick
was
Mullins?
13
Nick Mullins.
Nick
It was
Mullins.
13
Big
to 10
fan.
last.
Big
Yeah.
fan of Nick Mullins.
Yeah, started the fourth quarter. Niners lead
I think
13-10.
they should get rid of Jimmy G, and I think they should
Yeah.
build around Nick Mullins.
Wow.
I'm in on him.
The Eli's 10
How's my
for
man doing?
15 for 63 yards.
That's terrible.
Jeez.
Nick Mullins
My
is 15
God.
for 22, 148 yards and a pick.
And a pick. No touchdowns.
That's not exactly.
No, it's
Dear
not that good. He's not that
God.
good, but I like the story.
Yeah,
Yeah.
nobody's going to confuse him with Joe
I like the
Montana or
story.
John Brody. And Eli, 63. I mean, when does he stop getting? When does he finally go to the bench? I mean,
But
I
see,
have no idea.
ridiculous
This is what I
already.
mean. Whoever's running the A2D social media these days, you know, they call me a fraud. In all
Oh,
caps.
in all caps.
All
What is
caps.
that? Why is that?
That's an exclamation
why are
point.
we doing
All right,
A2D
what's
on
the-
A2D crime?
What's
We're supposed to have each other's back. We're supposed to be a family.
I know.
Because you had the nerve to speak
Because
out.
I said I think Corey Clement stinks. I had the
geez.
audacity to say
But
that he stinks.
I'm not going to say
Well, he does stink.
who did it, but I mean, that's a mystery for another time. We already solved one mystery
Bro,
over on ATD.
he says, whatever idiot is calling the shots, A2D social. That's what you are, an idiot. Whoever wrote this post
Oh,
is an
boy.
idiot.
Oh, boy.
An idiot. Bro, you are such a fraud. Don't circle back in a few weeks or next year because I damn well know you're rooting for him during the playoff run. Of course I was rooting for Corey Clement in the playoffs last year.
Why wouldn't you?
Why would I
Oh, my
why would I root
God.
against him? He's not good. He's not good. You're the fraud for hiding behind the A2D forum and not posting it from your real account so I can see who actually called me a fraud.
You know what?
That's who the
I think
fraud
I know
is.
who it is. It's Brian Colangelo.
Is it?
It's Brian bleeping
I don't even
Colangelo.
care. I don't even care.
Here's what I would say to that person. Okay, congratulations, you have officially become the Sports Hounds 2018 Wimp of the Year.
That is a wimp.
Whoa.
Whoever-
The
that's
Wimp of the
great.
Year.
Whoa.
That's
Good
great.
job.
Oh,
Whoever-
boy.
Whoever wrote that on my post about the running backs and Corey Clement is the wimp of the year.
Oh,
You are the
Show
Wimp
your
of the
face.
Wait,
Try to tell us. Try
tweet
to
it
tell
at
us
me.
Post
it on a real account.
What is
Don't
Corey
hide
Clement
behind the
done?
forum. Anyway, that's the most unprofessional thing I've ever seen in my life
Oh,
for the A2D official Facebook
Yeah,
account
let's
to
wrap
call
this
one,
up.
to call one of their hosts a fraud.
Hey, I got called a sellout in
totally
one of their posts.
unprofessional and
Well,
complete.
I've been called a lot worse than that, but
complete
Yeah.
but
bogus.
I
so
kind
I'm gonna end on
I
that.
cherish it, Frank.
Before I get all worked up, because we were talking about basketball, we were talking about people we hated, then we got to go back to Eagles Cowboys, and
Well,
I got upset again.
Let me
Oh,
tell you
boy.
something, okay? Corey Clement.
What? This is
stinks.
what I'm gonna ask you. What am I missing? What am I missing about Corey Clement?
He's been
Corey
underperforming. He's been underperforming.
He's not good. He's regressed.
He regressed. That's all.
What
he
am I
regressed.
supposed to
What,
do?
you're not allowed to tell. You're not allowed to tell somebody
No.
that a player stinks if they're stinking
He's regressed.
because he's on your team. Gee, by the way, am I allowed to say that Giancarlo Stanton stinks? 'Cause
No,
he's
not a
stunk.
real Yankees fan. Not a real Yankees fan.
Fraud.
He's
He is a
out of the
fraud.
club. He's out of the
I
club.
am a fraud.
He's out of the club.
I'm
He
a
was critical.
fraud.
Oh my God! A
I
Yankees
said
fan was
it.
critical of the team.
I
Kick him
s-
out.
I said
Burn
it.
him at the stake. Hang him. Stone him.
They're gonna steal my
You're
season
done.
tickets.
You're
I'm
out,
not allowed-
son.
no.
See ya.
I'm not allowed to go back to the Yankee Stadium anymore.
Bro, you're such a fraud. I know you. I know for a fact.
Oh my
You
God.
were rooting for him in the playoffs. Of course I
Oh my
was.
God.
Of course I was.
And by the way,
I root for the. Just because I'm critical doesn't mean I don't root for the teams. I'm a fan, just like most of our listeners.
And you know what? When Stanton,
Why do we have to hide
I was
behind?
rooting, and I
why
was
do we
rooting
have
for
to-
Stanton, but he struck out all
I
the
get it.
time.
I don't get it.
Yeah,
I don't get people.
Me neither.
I don't
Big
get sports
babies.
debates. I don't get any of it.
All right. Well,
I just don't get
Yeah.
it.
All right. We'll figure out if Brian
And for me to get-
Colangelo.
And for me to get called out by my own forum like that, by an anonymous source, is total bogus. Total bogus. So that's my piece tonight. HUD Radio Sports Hounds. We'll be back, hopefully talking about an Eagles win against the Saints. One can hope. We'll be back next week. See you later.